Good evening, welcome to Poker Night Live, the vanguard of the poker TV revolution. We're turning all our viewers into top poker pros. Isn't that right, Caspar?
We are, and we won an award to prove it.
We did, and we're still banging on about it.
Well,
we're a 100% live show here on Poker Night Live. We love it when you get in touch with us, and there are various means of communication available to you. You can email the studio. Email the studio on poker@pokernightlive.co.uk.
poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is the email. It's always the same. Always the same. Or you can text the show, of course. 62211, that's 62211.
Or if you want to check out our website, you can do so at www.pokernightlive.co.uk. There it is. Well, Mr. Caspar, since you're in the studio, how would you feel about taking us round our tables?
I'd love to. Let's have a look at them. In one. A $10 sit and go. Final stages. Hoofy there, holding the fort. Blue Wolf. Never heard of him. Let's move on. Table 3 is a $20 sit and go. Shaky Shark, that's in the early stages. We'll probably come back to that later. Yes, I know someone associated with a different poker show, and I won't be churlish enough to say which one. And I can tell you, it's quite a big name in broadcasting. He was not pleased that we won Poker Show of the Year.
Oh.
So, you know, we got people's backs up. Good. Table 4 is a cash game. That's the cash game with real cash amounts, and on this occasion it's a 25-50 cash game. And finally, the multi-table, what's now become a perennial favourite. No longer an oddity. Just run-of-the-mill now. That's why we won those awards. For making the revolutionary normal.
For making excellence the run-of-the-mill.
Absolutely. If you did that in every area of life, you'd go a long way.
We would, but we'll stick with poker for the time being. There it is, folks. We've got 4 hours of it. Oodles of poker to choose from. Expert analysis from myself, Dr. Tom, Mr. Caspar Berry. You can see all the whole cards. It's a live show. You can talk to us by email. What more could you possibly want? Before you answer that, we're going to take you straight down to the poker. Let's go. I think a bit of green is in order, Caspar. Here it is. Here it is.
Are we going to make ourselves sick with our analysis again this week, or should we pull back from that?
No, I want to make myself... I'm a poker bulimic.
Really?
I want to make myself sick with poker analysis. So here it is. It's we're a fair way into this game. Started off with blinds of 10 tournament chips, 20 tournament chips. 1,500 chips is what they start with. It costs them $11 to sit down, or I'm a Chinaman, which I'm not.
So it must be $11.
It must be. That's right. And
that's deduction.
That is deduction, yeah. Necessarily follows. And we don't know how many players started, but we will tell you as soon as we find out.
389.
Wow, that is quick. That's why we won an award.
49 tables. The blinds are going up every 12 minutes, and there's a total prize pool here of, altogether now, $3,890.
Not bad.
It's all right, no. First place, paying nearly $1,000.
Not bad at all.
No, it's all right. For a $10 investment.
I wonder what our viewers do with their winnings. Do you think they turn it into bankroll like curmudgeonly poker players, or do they, you know, spend some of it on a shirt? Do you reckon? Do you celebrate when you win a big tourney?
I didn't a couple of weeks ago when I did win a big tourney.
Oh. So you did, yeah. Tell us again. I've forgotten.
I placed first in it. It was a small tourney. It was a big field. It was a $30 rebuy, which is basically a $100 tournament. Field of 528, 40k guaranteed, $10,000.
Very nice.
Yeah. What did I do? I haven't done anything yet. What I would like to do is get a what's that internet banking service? Not PayPal.
NetTeller.
NetTeller. I'd like to get some NetTeller accounts going and buy into some other sites and get some sign-up bonuses going.
Because you get a better bonus with NetTeller.
Yeah, if I'm gonna be playing, I've always played on the same site. I've always been very brand loyal. It's not particularly sensible, really.
No, you should be a poker tart in this day and age.
Well, you should be. You should be, because I mean, when we talk about maximising profits, part of the process of maximising profits these days is maximising rake back and goodies, isn't it?
Yeah, Mr. Malcolm Harwood, he does his accounts religiously, and I think about 4,000 of his profit last year was made just from taking advantage of the sorts of bonuses that are out there. So, you know, as long as you approach it as a science, it's money in the bank. Now, talking about science, here's a deductive process we've got for you. Yes, you guessed it.
What's in the hole?
What's in the hole? What is in the hole, folks? Let's have a look. You've got to guess, using only your powers of deduction, what the hole cards are of Pakistan, England.
It's more induction, isn't it, this?
Is it induction? That's a good question. We might come back to that, Caspar.
Okay.
I'd say it might be deduction, but, you know, we'll toss it around.
Is it logic? Deduction is just logic, isn't it?
Well, induction is a form. Anyway, let's have a look at the... I haven't seen this
probability.
one yet. Have you seen? You must have seen this last night.
Yes. I haven't got a clue.
Oh, okay, that's very honest. Neither deduction nor induction working for Caspar. And he's just flat called. Oh, it's Snap It. Snap It's got just a wee pair there. Well, he hasn't bluffed on the turn. Does that mean he's got some sort of hand?
Now, Snap It, of course, he's only got the pair of 5, so he can only check. And Pakistan Angle, who, remember, is famous for his bets of 1. Do you remember? Constantly just betting 1.
I can't remember him, though.
Yeah, constantly just betting 1 in these what's in the holes. And on this occasion, bets out 4, which is a quarter of the pot. So he bets 1 when he's loaded. What does he have when he bets 4?
Well, that is a tricky... What's in the hole, folks? There it is. Text hole and your answer. What are the hole cards? And what hand has he got? To 6-2-2-1. Terrific. Well, that is a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, a whole range of hands are consistent.
Oh, you weren't
with that
party
bet.
to the trickiest one of all the other night, were you?
Oh, really? No.
Some guy was in the big blind who was nearly all in. The small blind put him all in and he just called all in. That was all we knew.
So what hands can he not have?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. They are getting harder. It started off easy, they're getting harder. But we will go back to that what's in the hole question tonight. So if you haven't quite finished your deductive and inductive processes, then you'll have another chance later, just before the break. Now let's get ourselves back down to the real poker, where we can see all the hole cards. It's a $20 sit and go. Speaking of which, Caspar has got a bit of a reputation and winning streak to maintain, is going to be playing in Beat the Presenter tonight on his own account.
You're setting me up for a fall there, Tom.
Well, I am pointing out, logically, that you can't go any higher.
That's true.
But I'm just saying, you know,
Story
well done.
of my life.
Well done, and you're in an unenviable position of not being able to improve on your current performance, which is not a position I face, let's face it.
I can match it, though. I can be 2 for 2.
Yeah, that's right, that would be impressive. So here we go. We've got a $20 sit and go here. And Sharky Shark, Shaky Shark, beg his pardon. He's not a player I know. Oh, look at this. We've got a little still come up here. There you go. Beat the Presenter. Well, I think you know by now, if you watch, you get a chance to play live against us, and then you see later the hand poured over, or rather the whole game poured over in detail, with the presenters justifying their plays ad lib. Now back to the game.
Yeah, I did a little bit of training today, Tom, in preparation for my sit and go this evening while I was working. You know that thing where you're working away and then every 40 seconds your computer goes boom, and up comes a hand. I'll be honest with you, I didn't fare well.
Well, you see, maybe that means you haven't used up your luck. I'm joking, guys. I am joking.
I placed third twice out of 6 sit and goes.
Okay. Started well and then ended bad. Oh dear. Oh well. So you like a bit of short-handed sit and go action, do you, Caspar?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I do like sit and goes very much, actually. In fact, I would say they've
changed your life.
Not quite. No, they've kept me interested in poker when other things have pushed me away.
Oh, that is interesting, because for some people, sit and goes are a rather poor man's fare, neither fish nor fowl when it comes to cash and multi-table tournaments.
Well, I think that's great. I think what's wonderful is, you know, there's so much for everyone these days, isn't there? Different types of game, different structures, different formats. Pair of nines. Raising up, that's a big raise, 6 times the big blind. Devilfish yesterday.
How did you get on with the Devilfish?
I absolutely adored it.
Good.
It was one of my favourite shows ever. Up there with you and me's biggest tussles.
Good.
Do you remember those first few shows we did in early 2006 where we just literally quit at 2 o'clock in the morning with brain freeze?
Yeah, I think we did mention a hand of poker somewhere, but I don't remember many. Good.
Couple nines, checked the ace king bets. Nines haven't got a call, I'm afraid. Got to lay them down, Daz. As painful as it is. Good lay down, my friend. No, it was fascinating. He said that he keeps his raises to 3 times the big blind, generally. Doesn't like people to get a read in his raises. Talked about the possibility of laying down queens before the flop, but more than anything, Tom, more than absolutely anything that came out of our discussion yesterday, was the fact that Devilfish, and I kept on pushing him, almost not taking the mickey out of him, but just keeping on at this point, kept on asking him about different card situations and how he played them, just to keep hearing the Devilfish going, can't tell you. Can't tell you. It's all about the players. It's all about who's behind me. Would you raise with ace jack in first position? Just can't tell you. All about what will the guys behind me do. They're a passive table, it's an aggressive table. Will the guy 2 to my left, is he trying to beat me up? I'll tell you the most fascinating thing he said to me all night for my money, after we see how Frank plays this 3 nines. Well, he just calls. Tiger in the long grass, hasn't hit another club, so he's just got the nines working for him. He doesn't know, of course, what Stu Ash has. Stu Ash has top pair with a bad kicker. Stu Ash should be checking now.
Is that a blocking bet?
A blocking bet, yeah.
Didn't work.
Did he fold that there?
I didn't see, Caspar.
Did he call? It all happened very quickly, didn't it? Yeah, so the most fascinating thing he said to me, I said, look, I think you are arguably one of the best 5 heads-up players
Thank you.
in the world.
Oh, sorry.
As if to Devilfish.
Okay, fine. All right.
And
okay.
although,
that's true.
well, I rate yours as well, Tom.
Thank you, Caspar.
And I said, so what is the secret of great heads-up play? Because, people email in here and they say, what is it? And we say, well, you raise a lot more often and there's a kind of ebb and flow to it and you probably can't get away with a 4th raise if it's a steal, because the guy will just come up at the top of you. So there's kind of constantly asking what your opponent thinks of you. And Devilfish said, do you know what he does? A couple of interesting things come out of this. Number 1, he never shows a bluff. Do you know why he never shows a bluff? Because he doesn't want his opponent to start getting aggressive with him. He doesn't do anything to anger his opponent. He likes to keep his opponent in a little box with his arm around him. He just wants his opponent to feel like Devilfish isn't beating up on him, isn't bluffing him, is just playing solid poker. And do you know the other effect he wants to give? The deck's smashing him over the head. He wants his opponent to feel like he's getting lucky. So it's something that I raised, and hopefully I'll try and exemplify in today's sit and go, although if I balls it up, then there'll be lots of topics for discussion. But you're constantly trying to reveal your cards at the right time to give the impression that the deck's smashing you over the head. That's what I think. Because whilst people shouldn't let that affect their play, they do because they're human.
So am I right in thinking that the Devilfish would be inclined to show a big hand when he makes it?
Yeah, definitely. He wants the other guy to feel that Devilfish is not playing particularly well, he's not doing anything fancy, he's literally just getting cards and playing them. That's what he wants them to feel. Now, I thought that was fascinating as a textbook for how to play a heads up.
And there's certainly, Devilfish's reasons there are clear that he wants them, as you say, not to get angry and aggressive. But there's a logic to this, because it could be good or bad showing a bluff for you. It could be good or bad showing a big hand for you. But in the long term, all other things being equal, you'd always prefer your opponents to fold than call. And the reason is that there is money in the pot, and you'll take that money if they fold. And that is why you should err on the side, as Caspar says there, of encouraging them to think you're just getting lucky.
Excellent. Let's get back to that $20. Sit and go and see who's getting lucky there.
Well, Frank's got the queen. Stu Ash has got the gut shot straight draw, and he's not made it, but he's caught his king instead. Hello.
Hello.
These two in bed with each other again. And a value bet in order, I think, here. No real reason to think that the opponent's got Jack 10.
You think he can bet there, Tom, without being worried of the river principal? He's only going to get a call if he's beaten. Frank could well call him with an ace, couldn't he?
Yeah, that's right. There are. I mean, it's not a great situation to be in betting on the river, but I think his value there is there's some value to be had from getting a call.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, in that situation on the river, when you put in a value bet, its value is massively undermined in the long run if you wrongly call a raise. It's fine taking 60 here and there, but then if every 5 or 6 times you do a little value bet like that and your opponent has got the big hand, say Jack 10, and he raises, then the long-term value of your small value bets is very much determined by whether you correctly fold when you are raised. So that's something to bear in mind. Because of course you can't put the raise in if you're in position and you don't put in the value bet yourself. Oh, it's a bit technical on Pro Night, Caspar.
It is. Do you want something else that's technical?
What?
Another nugget from the Devilfish.
Okay.
This is another absolute corker.
Okay.
So I said to him, put to him a question that we get quite a lot at the moment. The old question of implied odds with medium to small pairs. Do you call a raise from them in late position? Do you call an early position raise in late position? Would you call a raise with a pair of sixes on the button, knowing that if you hit your pair of sixes, you'll make a big pot, and if you don't, you can release it? Right?
Good question.
His answer absolutely blew me away. He says, I'll do it if it's heads up, but I won't do it multi-way.
Well, that sounds a bit paradoxical.
Doesn't it? Do you want to know why?
I'd love to know why.
Because if you play small pairs multi-way for Devilfish, and you hit a set, it's very likely that one of those 4, 5, 6 opponents is going to have another. Not very likely. It's likely enough that one of those other players is going to hit a bigger set to make it one of those situations that will regularly take you out of tournaments. He says, you stand at the rail in a tournament, you'll hear people going, yeah, I had a set, we had a bigger set. Devilfish doesn't like to get into that situation.
That's interesting. I can't remember any situation where it's happened to me. I see set under set extraordinarily rarely. I mean, flushes and straights, you know, they're easier to get away from, of course, if someone makes a flush and you've got the set because it's more visible. But that's interesting because it is a pretty rare phenomenon. His point was very interesting because it was constantly laden with that, is that you don't want to get yourself into a situation where you're going to overbet the pot and be taken out of a tournament. Because he's mainly a tournament player now, although he used to, you know, formerly a great cash game player. But it reminded me of the conversations that we've had recently, you know, about how do you immunise yourself against 2 pairs when you've got top pair. And it just seemed to be along the same lines, is just don't get yourself into that situation in the first place of being in a you know, potential scenario where you're just going to overbet something massively and bottom set is vulnerable. I think Super System says bottom set is vulnerable. So, should we get back to the game? Yeah, let's. It's interesting though, because I mean, it's fine to say, well, this is not such a dream situation. You know, making a set isn't necessarily always implied odds. Sometimes it's reverse implied odds if your opponent makes a bigger one. But it does beg the question: where then do you go hunting for your value? You know, if it's not there. And I guess the Devilfish way is to win pots without showing cards.
He wants to win pots without showing cards. He wants to see a lot of flops and outplay on the flop. He wants to see a lot of flops cheaply, and then know exactly. This is this point. I think he wants to know exactly where he is on the flop. And I guess, you know how we've talked about. We've talked about with caution the principle behind raising with ace queen. Let's say a couple off the button. It's one hand, ace queen and ace jack. You don't want to be re-raised because you don't know where you are with the call.
No.
Yeah, you know where you are with 10 deuce being re-raised, and you know where you are with a pair of kings being re-raised, but you don't know where you are with ace queen. And I think Devilfish was sort of implying the same thing, and I don't want to be putting words into his mouth now, so I'm speaking for me. This is my inference based on what he said. Is he wants to be in situations on the flop where he knows if he's re-raised what he's going to do with it. Yeah, he's either speeding without a license or he's loaded. Because I talked to him, I said, so do we feel the same way about suited connectors, Dave? And he goes, no, because they can make the nuts. Whereas little pairs, when they flop a set, it ain't going to be the nuts.
But I mean, I don't know. Not that I'm criticising Devilfish for his play, because his record speaks for itself, but I'm happier when I make a set than when I make a flush, because a flush is very easily outdrawn. If you've got 6, 7 of diamonds and you make the flush on the flop, you can't slow play it.
No.
If another diamond comes, you've probably been outdrawn. With a set, you've got options, and you've got the redraw. You know, you can make the house if someone makes a straight or a flush. So it seems a bit odd to me. If I'd had my sets cracked more often than they have, I might have a different view of it.
I wonder if he's playing in games, Tom, where, let's say when you make your flush like that, players are less inclined to chase when you make that big move. Whereas with us, you know, we're scared that players are going to call us and outdraw us, and so there's a level of pain associated with that. Whereas if you're playing at Devilfish's level, we have to understand he plays at a different level. That's with different kinds of players, and therefore the challenges they face are different. I'm not saying in the early stages of these tournaments he doesn't face exactly the same people with the same challenges, but you know, at the level that he finds interesting and plays a lot at these days, it's different. Yeah, and I wonder whether, as we've discussed many times, the hands that you lose a lot of money on are those marginal hands. So if two players have got sets, the guy with the little set is going to lose a lot of money. Yeah. Whereas if one player's got a flush, all right, if you've got 6, 7 of hearts and someone's got the 8, 9 of hearts, again, you're going to lose a lot of money because you're both going to play it in the same way. But in actual fact, someone's got the ace of hearts. What you're doing there is you're reading each other for the right cards, and by the time Devilfish has gone all in, no one's going to call and draw.
Right.
With the ace of hearts. I wonder. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, you're right about that thing about sets. The advantage of a set is that it's invisible, and so its disadvantage is that when you're up against a higher one.
That's right.
You know, suddenly it doesn't matter that you're invisible.
That's
they're
right.
invisible. Interesting.
Still 8-handed here down on this $20 sit and go. And they're showing admirable caution. Well, I don't know if that's an admirable property or not in poker. On the whole, it is, all other things being equal. That's to say you are tight aggressive. You play rarely, but when you do play, you go for it. Blind still at 20-40, but they will be going up very soon. And just a flat call there with the ace-9 off. And difficult to make that call a winner. But let's see, maybe he's got a master plan. It's worked out very nicely for him because he's ended up in position. He didn't do anything to achieve that. Everyone folded behind him. And Miss Votavova asks a question. And Stevenson folds. Interesting there. Pair of fives. Votavova correctly read Stevenson, not only for not having a big hand, but also, and this is important, for him folding if Votavova bet. And that's a crucial thing to ask yourself when you play poker. Not only what has my opponent got, but what will he do? Because if she bets and he calls, sitting there with a pair of fives, she just doesn't know where she is on the flop. So it's going to be difficult to act adaptively. So she's hoping he folds, and he does.
Yep, and again, something that came through very strongly yesterday was Devilfish saying, you want to know what your opponent's going to do, and it's very clear that one of the biggest indicators of what your opponent was going to do is what he thought of you. And that conforms precisely, to what I've said about players like TJ and Devilfish, although they come to it from completely different ends of the spectrum. But these guys create images over the course of a lifetime. Do you know what I mean? You know when you sit down with TJ or Gus Hansen what this image is, because every interview, every book, every interaction, every classic hand, they're all aimed at creating this specific image. My point about sit and goes is the notion that if you play tight in the first 20 hands of a sit and go, people are going to write down that you're a rock and they're going to respect your raises in the last part of the sit and go. I think it's hokum. The reason why they don't call your raises in the last part of a sit and go is because they can't. It's not because they respect you, it's because they can't. It's because the gap principle is dominant. So if you want to play tight in the early stages of sit and go, that's fine, but I just think that assuming that it's going to give you an edge in the later stages for that reason is delusional. Controversial comment there earlier on in the evening.
We love it on Poker Night Live.
Good.
Poker controversy flowing in our veins.
So I want to see the award. We didn't win an award by being passive and insipid.
We won an award because all our viewers voted for us.
Yeah.
And because we exhorted them to.
On pain of death.
And some of them got round to it. So thank you. We do appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really your award, folks.
Well, he's in lots of pots, Mr. Stevenson. And he takes that one down. He is still the short stack at the table. Blinds now up to 40-80. How's them for apples? So some of these players... Oh, Crazy Gum, I didn't spot there his short stack lurking in the southwest of the table, in the doldrums. Well, a quick reminder of how you can get in touch with myself and Caspar Berry on the show. You can text us here, 62211. We're 100% live, so you may as well avail yourself of us. Here's the email. The email address, if you want to email a question, it's poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And have your say. There you go, have your say. If you like to vocally be on Poker Night Live, just call that number at 0906 270 80 to leave your messages or questions about poker. Well, look at this. We've got pocket pairs, and then we've got 8-9 suited connectors sandwiched in between them. And here's a funny old flop, because we've got the gut shot for Daz. We've got top pair for Miss Vertavova. And we've got an over pair for Stu Ash. Daz, I think, here can quit the field. He must think he's behind, and he's only got a gut shot, which isn't necessarily good. I don't know why he goes in there. I really don't know why he goes in there. It was a strange action, because whoever's left, even if Votavova folds, is now getting nice odds to call. So Daz Jarvis can't really take the pot there on a semi-bluff, and he doesn't look to be in good shape. And ironically, Stu Ash folds, and Daz Jarvis there catches his 7.
How bizarre.
How bizarre, as OMC once said. Yeah, amazing. Well, I didn't much like the all-in.
I've got a little idea for a theme for tonight's programme.
All right.
A regular texting theme.
Vickers and tarts?
Do you know, I once knew a girl. She was in a play that I was directing, and she was wearing a black leather skirt, and I nearly said, "Have you been to a Vickers and tarts party?" before I realised that she hadn't. And you know when you're that close to saying something and you stop yourself?
Then you giggle.
And you just think, thank God.
Was she a goth?
No, she was quite sexy. So here's the theme for the evening. Here's the
Black
theme for the
leather.
evening. Yeah, here's the theme for the evening. It is, what's the future of poker? You're going to hear some interviews that we're going to be doing with a poker journalist during some of the breaks of tonight's show, which is very exciting. Paul Chung, who works for Inside Edge. And we talk a bit about the future of poker. And what I want to know is, where do you think it's going? Is it going to be as big as golf one day? Are we going to be looking at 20,000 people tournaments? Are we going to have, like snooker has, a rank of pros, which you have to qualify for, maybe just a field of 100, 120 people? Where's it going to go? What are the pot sizes going to do? Is internet poker going to carry on expanding like this? Are all your friends thinking about getting into it? Or do you think that everyone who's interested in poker is now pretty much in the game? We want to hear from you, folks. What is the future of this great game of poker?
Great, yeah. Text in, phone in, email in, and be Poker Nostradamus for us. There is 62211. 62211. What is the future of poker? And poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Will it be as big as golf one day? I mean, it's a bit of a mystery to me why golf is so big, but I have lots of friends who don't have the same opinion. I think poker's more exciting.
Well, I mean, is poker not as big as golf now? I mean, the World Series, the one tournament in the World Series gives away more money than all the golf majors put together now. So, I think it is as big as golf.
Golf is a prestige game, isn't it? Whereas poker isn't. I mean, you talk to the sponsors, you know, they're quite happy to chuck millions at Tiger Woods, but even the Devilfish, you know, he doesn't get millions and millions for advertising Mars bars or...
No, it is different, definitely in a different way. Sorry, it's as big in a different way, I think. I'm not going to argue with what you said there for one moment, it's factually correct. But I think two things. First of all, I think it's as big in a different way. I think in the World Series generally, how much money must get bet? What must be the throughput of the World Series? Over $1 billion. Over $1 billion.
It's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, that is an enormous sporting occasion. And that's one tournament. That's just one tournament. And I think the second thing I'd say is that that Tiger Woods time will come. You know, and players like Phil Ivey are driving it and moving it forward, and not even bit by bit, quite fast now. It's coming, I think. The impediment to sponsorship was a massive issue, even in Vegas in the year 2000. It was like, well, you know, we've got to stop the business of short-handed collusion. We've got to stop the business of deals if we want to get sponsorship into tournaments. But all those things are possible. All those things are possible, and it shouldn't even necessarily be the poker skins and sites that are funding these things. Why wouldn't, you know, any company who sponsors a sporting event want to be associated with a poker event?
Is it because, I mean, there is unarguably, in any time frame, more luck in poker than in golf?
Yes.
And that seems to me a significant detriment to the idea of it being an elite sport.
Well, okay. Two things. First thing is, that is true. That is true. However, when you cite golf, you're citing the next highest variance popular sport, I think. You know, it's much more easy is the wrong word, it's much more likely that a Pete Sampras is going to win 3 of the tennis majors than someone's going to win 3 of the golf majors.
That's a very good point.
When it happens in golf, it's freakish. Tiger Woods, what he did was freakish. And when you looked at the world rankings at that time, he was dominant in golf in the way that probably no other sportsman apart from Michael Jordan was dominant in their sport. So, you know, it obviously isn't a massive impediment in the case of golf. And the next point to make is that that's the whole essence behind thinning the field to 120 pros. So whilst this variance will still exist, you've got to have heroes. Everything in life, to create narrative, you've got to have heroes. You've got to have 3 or 4 people that people are all placing their money on. But then you still get the situation in golf where you could look at, I mean, I can look at a leaderboard as someone who knows a bit about golf. You know, I'm a good lay person in golf. I can look at any kind of leaderboard, even in the majors, let alone in other tournaments, and I can quite easily not know 8 out of the 10 people on the leaderboard. So I don't think it's a bad analogy in comparison, really.
What do you think? I'm sure we haven't covered the whole gamut of opinions on the future of poker, which is tonight's theme, plucked from the air by Mr. Caspar Berry. So do get in touch with us and let us know what you think, where we are on the poker bubble. Back to the game in the meantime.
Stevenson all in there, has hit his ace, look at that, but King 10 not only flopped 3 of a kind, went on to make a straight.
Tricky to do that. So we have our first casualty.
Casualty of sit and goes.
And it was Stevenson who went. Crazy Gums still on 440. Now, look at this. He didn't want to be the second in the pot. He wanted to be the first in the pot, but he's decided to go. Interesting. Very interesting. I would say, for my money, that is a marginal play, Caspar. All depends on Daz Jarvis. If I had no opinion about Daz Jarvis, it's marginal.
You don't like the raise with the 9s, Tom?
No.
Really?
If I know nothing about him there, because I've lost any chance to get fold equity now.
Sorry, Tom, just explain that to me.
He's raised there. With the 9s, he's raised there. He knows he's going to take it to a showdown.
Right.
Because Daz Jarvis now has got too many reasons to call with the pot the way it is.
Right.
He's got a bit of time before the button comes around, so he may get a situation where he can play with another hand that's not greatly worse than a pair of 9s, but where he is the first into the pot, so he's got some chance of taking the blinds.
Got you.
120 in the pot.
Did Dad Jarvis bring it in for a raise or a call?
Daz Jarvis brought it in for a raise.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, a minimum
right.
raise. A minimum raise.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I don't mind it, but it's marginal. So either way, it depends on the player. If I think he's a rock, it's a clear fold for me.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right, Tom. Yeah.
But if he's loose, I'm more than happy to take my chances now.
So is for you the decision between raise or fold, or is the decision between raise or call? Do you think there's any
no, raise or
call?
fold.
Raise
Definitely
or fold.
raise or fold.
Okay.
The smaller your stack is, folks, relative to the blinds, the greater the value is in getting them to fold. If you've got 1,000 chips and there's 120 in the middle, well, it's not a huge amount. If you've got 300 or 400, it is a huge amount. Pair versus pair. Shaky Shark makes his move. Been called by a worse hand. And it holds up. King 7 holds up for him. Stu Ash, much denuded.
Did Stuart call on the flop with just a pair of fours there?
I think he did, yeah.
Stew.
Well, now he should certainly move all in here. For the reasons earlier mentioned, 240 in the pot is huge for him. And he takes it down. Votov in trouble. It's not the hand she wants to defend her big blind with, but 240 in the middle, and that's what she's got. She's getting 2-1 against someone who's raising. Not a nice situation. She can fold against a raise. Well, she's lucky there to have a chance to see the flop. I'm surprised by the call from Stuart. And he's set himself up to be bluffed off a pot, apart from anything else. Votov has a counter position. Very strange. She was given the chance to see the flop cheaply. Very strange. She's decided to keep it simple for herself. And lots of outs on the turn, but none of them materialise.
Yeah, Stu's made a number of questionable plays in the last few minutes for me. He's played 71% of hands. In terms of categorising players, I'm just pushing him further and further towards the naiver end of the scale. Pains me to say it, but it's important to categorise players.
Publicly.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? That we're doing it publicly, which is something I'd rather not do. But
because you're a nice guy.
I'm a nice guy, but that's my job, and I've signed up for that job. So perhaps I'm not as nice as I like to think.
Well, no, it's not true that you signed up in order to be able to diss people.
No, that's true.
It comes with the job. Anyway, he's still in. Are you going to be looking to sit down on a table with him?
But with all due respect, yes.
Maybe his plan is simply to misrepresent his playing style and then carve you up like a gipper.
Mission accomplished. Do you carve kippers? More turkey, isn't it, that you carve?
You do, but... Well, yeah, you do. Well, help me out, Caspar. I mean, kippers...
No, it's fine. It's just an odd image, isn't it? Standing at the table with a kipper going, shall I carve?
Well, when money is short and all you can afford is a kipper...
No, you're absolutely right. Look, there's a card explaining the Beat the Presenter concept, just in case some of you don't get it verbally.
Mm-hmm.
It's visually represented there on screen in the form of text and words. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We're an inclusive broadcaster here on Poker Night Live, and we welcome all our deaf viewers.
What if they're deaf and blind?
We'll shout!
Okay. And turn up the colour.
Got quite a cruel streak to you, haven't you, Tom?
No.
No?
No, just literal. So, look at that. 2 jacks. Astonishing the things we see on this game. Must be rigged.
We had an email yesterday, Tom, from a chap who swore blind that whenever there was an all-in on his site, the player with the least chips lost, thus hastening the end of the tournament.
Ah, good conspiracy theory.
Thus increasing the overall, hands per hour intake of the poker site. How can I argue with it? How can I argue with it? I'm sitting there going, how can I argue with it? I don't know. I haven't looked at their algorithms.
Yeah, you're right, Caspar. I mean, there is an economic incentive, a very small one, for poker sites to do that. It's quite small compared to the massive economic incentive of running a clean game and raking in the colossal profits that they're already making.
You say that, but how can we? We can't prove it.
We can't, no. No, I hear that there's actually a group of Illuminati living in a cave under Ben McDewey in Scotland.
Oh, right, yes.
Who are controlling not only the world's press, but also the pot you are playing right now in your 25-cent, 50-cent game.
Must be busy.
Well, they're very clever people.
Do they sleep? Do they...
The Illuminati?
Yeah, do they get to go out and meet girls? So much to do. You'd have so many computer screens, wouldn't you, and TV screens all over the place.
Well, if they're watching, maybe they'll think, oh, guys, we have We rarely go out with girls while we're controlling, internet poker and the world's media. Maybe we should just give it all up and go and shake our booties.
I bet they get some good ones as well.
Girls?
Yeah.
What, being the Illuminati?
I bet if they went to Phoenix in Hong Kong, they get some stunners.
Right. I was thinking more just dipping down to sort of Tobermory and going to a Cayley.
Well, that's the difference between you and the people that run the world, Tom, isn't
Yes,
it?
it is.
They don't clean my house. They just trying to beam up into the clouds, and they got a nuclear helicopter comes down and takes them to Hong Kong.
Yeah, but I quite like a Cayley with Sheila and Fiona and Morag.
Yeah, I refer you to my original
Smell
point.
of kelp in the background. A pint of heavy.
Yeah, I quite fancy the pint of heavy.
Stew Ash is declining, as they say. But he's still in there, and down to 5, which is the bubble. In case you think I'm talking about a hookah, it's the bubble before the bubble. And for some people, it is the bubble. Do you know what I'm talking about, Caspar?
No.
Okay, I'll explain it then. You are my sort of yardstick for that.
Although, interestingly, I was reading a report in the March Madness, the college basketball season in America.
Right, now I don't know what you're talking about, but carry on.
They used the term bubble.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, so it's obviously come from American sports generally and filtered into poker.
Are you sure it's not gone the other way? Into basketball from
Do
poker?
you know what? I hope not. I hope not.
Why?
Well, because I hate the term, and I was trying to exonerate poker from the responsibility of having created that stupid
Why don't you like the term,
I don't
Caspar?
like it. I don't like it.
But why?
Don't like it being bandied around. I just don't like it. Don't like it. It sounds
I thought
silly.
you were the voice of reason. You're coming across as the voice of weird
Yes,
phobias.
yes, that's exactly what I am right now. Yes, don't like it.
Okay, I like it. It's quite nice. It's a charming way to describe the angst-ridden situation of getting knocked out just one off the money. And nary a club in sight. Chop chop.
Frank can still win. Let this go forth from the rooftops. It's very difficult now, I'll grant you. But that's the fascinating thing about poker. He can still win. Look, he's about to double up here. Look at that. Pot of 20. We said it couldn't be done. It can't.
Fantastic. He's now got 2,000th of the chips.
Come on, Frank. Go on the run of your life, sir. Jack 3.
Yes, live. Oh, those are live cards. He's got the best. It's a dream situation.
He is.
7-5, 7-6,
He is.
8-5. How's he going to play it though, Caspar?
He can't possibly.
Oh, you see, he slow played it before the flop.
That is going to make it tough for him. That is going to make it tough for him.
Well, he played that like a muppet. His first mistake was putting all his money in before the flop.
He was pot committed.
He did. Oh, you got 20 chips. So what if he's a small blind?
Frank.
You've got a lot to learn, my son.
Frank.
Oh well, never mind. Which puts Stew Ash on the bubble.
Stop it.
Sorry, he puts him one off the money. And quite right to do that. I wonder if he wants a caller here.
Oh, yeah.
I think once Dad starts thinking about it, and Stew Ash knows it's not an ace, yeah, he wants a caller. Just about.
Well, even if it is an ace, he wants a call, doesn't it?
Oh, I'll take the money in the pot, thanks.
Well, you're doing yourself down.
Am I?
Well, you
I like a quiet life.
If he's got an ace, you've got a 30% chance of doubling through. That's a 30% chance of making, 2,000 units.
But it's 480 chips the pot. I'm not greedy, Caspar. If I've only got 700, I'll take the 480.
Well, you should be, Tom. You should be greedy. That's your problem.
No, I am greedy.
You're not greedy enough.
I'm greedy and covetous. Shaky shark.
So we'll see it happen right now.
Yes, we will.
This will be the... It won't prove anything that we don't already know from the statistics, but Stu Ash, I'm sure, will push now. I know, just calls.
Well, we know he does want a caller because he put a small bet in.
This will be interesting. Now, he's missed it, but he still pushes. Shaky says, hello, Christmas. Club would upset it. No.
Oh, no good. He got, not bubbled, but he did get knocked out one off the money. It's all the same to him.
Couldn't resist it. Couldn't resist using the word.
No. So they're all in the money. And we wish them the best of luck. Oh, there's the nines that Daz Jarvis. Was it Daz Jarvis played them? I think it was the nines, yeah. Maybe the nines were facing a raise from Daz Jarvis.
I thought that was in seat 6.
Yeah, maybe it was.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway, it's a pair of nines. It's interesting enough.
Yeah. That was the nines there.
Queen 7 suited is all in. Well, we're going to have a look at a few emails before we take our break. We've got one here from Neil in Harrow who says, I am a competent poker player, but what is the one thing that makes the difference between competent and great? Well, I'm going to send that over to a player who's not merely competent, he is great, the great Caspar Berry. Oh, he's so modest as well. What makes the difference between you
I'm
and...
not great. Freely admit that. I wish I was. I'm not. But David the Devilfish is, in my opinion. And the first question I put to him yesterday was, what's the difference between you and a good player? Not a bad player. What's the difference between you and a good player? And I'll be honest with you, I didn't get an answer, really. His first answer was, because I've got personality. That's what he said, and I think that's a pretty good shout at it, actually, because I think the differences are, after a certain point of knowing the cards, and yes, there are players like Chris Jesus-Ferguson and Eric Seidel who are incredibly mathematical and understand all those nuances of the odds and the different situations and permutations. Beyond that, I think it's about presence, and I think it's about the ability to act. What Dave the Devilfish has is awesome confidence, I think, and self-belief. And I think that's a prerequisite to be the best in anything. You don't have to be arrogant. Some people would say that Devilfish is arrogant. That's fine. We don't have to be that. I'm not saying that Steve Redgrave or Tiger Woods are arrogant, but believe me, when they go home at nights, they have exactly the same confidence. And I think that's the difference between a competent and a great player. It's nothing to do with knowledge of the game.
Thanks for that, Caspar. Hello there, says Paul. Great show, thank you. I'm looking forward to playing my first real-life poker tournament in the next couple of weeks, which is held at the local casino. It's a £10 buy-in with unlimited rebuys for the first hour. There are a few questions I'd like some advice on. Is there any poker table etiquette that I need to be aware of? Is it easy to keep track of the pot size, raise, etc., as online you have complete visibility of this as the poker site shows us information? And finally, how many rebuys would you do before walking away from the table? I had 11 once. Is there peer pressure in relation to this? Does it look bad if you walk away after one rebuy? Well, that's an interesting question. What do you think, Caspar, about any of those?
Okay, well, bit of poker table etiquette. The protection of your cards is your responsibility. In other words, if Tom cards are down there and I went like that, I wouldn't be cheating. I wouldn't be cheating.
But you would be on the floor.
No, but I wouldn't be cheating. It's protection of your hand is your responsibility. So you've got to protect your hand on the table, so you've got to practice just lifting up the corner, putting this hand over there to protect it, doing that. Is there peer pressure to continue playing in rear buy? I wouldn't call it peer pressure. It's embarrassing to get up after one or two rebuys, isn't it, Tom, if you bust out, in the early stages of a...
I think they'll just think you're a beginner, and they're going to think you're a beginner anyway because, they haven't seen you before.
And that's right, and my point is, do it. My point is, you've got to be strong, you've got to say, okay, hell to them, I'm going to get up when I want to get up. So it's not about peer pressure, but it's about being strong and being yourself.
Yeah, don't worry about it, Paul. I mean, it sounds like, obviously, if you've asked us for advice, then you've got the right attitude. Just go in there and go with the vibe, as David Brent would say. Yeah, that's it. Pot size and things, you can just ask the dealer if it's a dealer tournament. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to have to count it slowly yourself. We're going to throw over now, hopefully, to Paul Chung. Do you think he's on the line?
Excellent.
OK, Paul, we're going to try and get hold of you. Hi, Paul, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
How are you doing, Paul?
Yeah, I'm really good, thanks. I'm just sitting out at the cash game at the moment that I've just been involved in at the Sportsman in Marble Arch.
Fantastic. So you're just sitting out of a live cash game to talk to us here on Poker Night Live?
Sorry? Yeah, I am. It's I think I'm getting blinded away, actually.
Oh, well, no pressure then.
That's dedication.
How is it down at the Sportsman? I've never played poker there.
It's really good. I mean, I mean, it's a kind of new thing for them, but you know, they've got 250 frees out on Monday. They've got £30 frees out every Sunday, which I try and make it to, and they have £100 rebuys on Friday. So, you know, it's steadily coming up, and hopefully it's going to be recognised as, you know, one of the venues in London to go to. Because at the moment, people just know about the Gut Shot and the Vic. So.
And where is it? Marble Arch, did you say?
Yeah, just by the station. So it's really easy to get to. If you're in London.
It sounds like it's at the luxury end of the market, but it's offering a 250 once a week.
That's brilliant.
As opposed to, say, the Gut Shot, yeah. What's the standard of the players like, Paul?
Well, it's probably just above average, really. I mean, I find with the Gut Shot, people tend to think they're actually quite good, whereas here there's less ego, really.
Are they older boys? Are they more like the Vic?
No, not at all. Actually, they try and attract a younger crowd here. That was the point of the Sportsman. That's why they kind of relaunched.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
So it's kind of young professionals, 25 to 30, really.
And Paul, you're a journalist or in fact, you're a poker columnist for Inside Edge.
Yeah, I do all the poker stuff for Inside Edge magazine, basically.
And what would you have to say to aspiring poker players as a poker journalist?
What to help them improve, or
to make them work so we can take their money? No, to help them improve, Paul.
Well, basically, I mean, there's so many ways to, you know, improve your game now. There's no reason to not get involved, you know, whether it's playing online or, you know, home games are easy enough to set up. I mean, we play an office game every day, so...
Really?
Sorry?
That sounds like the company to work for.
It does, yeah. This is
on...
We get fag breaks.
Sorry?
We get fag breaks.
Cigarette breaks, you mean?
That's enough time for a little heads up.
Well, we're not that sick. I mean, and some of us have got nicotine addiction.
No, and also, it's like that old thing of, you know, if you're a waitress at a coffee bar, you don't want to have another coffee, do you?
Yeah.
Will you spend your whole time talking about poker? I'm amazed that you want to play poker in your breaks, Paul.
Well, they don't pay me enough, you know, so I've got to make a bit of money on the side.
Are you saying that you beat your editor?
I'm not allowed to say that. Whatever.
Be careful.
Yeah, I've got to be very careful, very careful.
So, but a year ago, Paul, when you took the job, you weren't a poker player at all, am I right?
No, I didn't. I mean, I think we used to play something with when I was a kid, I used to play some sort of variation of poker. I don't know what it was. Right. We had 5 cards. They all seemed to be turned up and one down. I think some sort of 5 card studs. Yeah, but it was... But, you know, I didn't... But after my childhood, that was it. So...
And so, it's obviously a pressure and onus on you in that year to become pretty good pretty quickly and you know, learn the basics and the ropes and then get more sophisticated. How have you done that? Have you found it difficult to do that in a short space of time?
I think what happens with poker is you learn the basics first, and then you learn that you're meant to only play like premium hands, and then you read some more books, you know, telling you to do this, that, and the other, and then your play starts to go down a bit. It takes a dip. And then you need to play some more to get it up. So it's definitely not been you know, a straight line up. You know.
That's very true, actually, isn't it, Tom? That's a very good point.
Yeah, it's a typical trajectory, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. You sort of you understand like a robot, how a robot plays, and then you understand it can be so much more interesting. But your first experience is in that. I expect there's another level up again, you know, where you enter a bigger game still, and again you'll suffer for a while.
That's right, yeah.
Before you get better again.
You have to relearn at each level.
Yeah.
I think sometimes there's a danger reading too much because you kind of have there's so many different ways that you're meant to play hands that you know, you get confused. Sometimes it's easy just to play straightforward poker, I think, or easier.
Definitely.
Well, it's been great talking to you, Paul, but we're gonna have to let you go because we don't want you to get blinded away, especially since you're in a high-stakes tournament.
Can we not talk to him again later?
We'll talk to him later, but get back to your game for the time being, Paul. And
okay, guys.
We hope to hear there's been a revival of all the chips you've lost. But we'll speak to you very soon. Bye for now.
All right, cheers, mate.
Cheers, Paul.
Bye.
Welcome back to Poker Night Live. We've got some very interesting emails in our boxes here, me and Caspar, but we are going to go straight back to that sit and go just now because it was getting a bit tense. So let's see how those 3 remaining players get on. We saw Stu Ash get knocked out one off the money, as we like to say on Poker Night Live.
I was just thinking, Tom, about that. What's the difference between a competent player and a great player?
Mm-hmm.
There's something that's happened to my game in the last 2 years, which is, so it's happened since I stopped playing day in, day out, which is probably quite significant, where there's this kind of things just sink in and embed themselves. Have you had that in terms of your learning of poker or your learning of anything? You do it for a period of time and you get so much knowledge and you get so much experience, and then a bit of time needs to pass before it just sort of embeds itself. And there are things I do now that I know when I was doing it day in, day out, I wouldn't have done. I was ignorant of these things, but I can't explain why or how I learnt them. I don't think it's something that I've learnt in the period of time since. I think it's just things that have sunk in the period of time since, which I've described on this show as being what we call unconscious competence in trainers' world, where you're competent and you don't think about it. You do things without thinking. But it's hard to put my finger on. I know I'm not describing that particularly well because it's hard to describe, I think.
Yeah, we don't really know how we learn. And that goes for poker as well. Well, Dad's in trouble now. And these two boys are going to err on the side of not confronting each other while he is that low. In a marginal situation, they'll avoid a confrontation rather than make one, because Daz is going to be all in next go. Well, hey-ho, Robbie Lido bets with the ace-5, but his minimum raise there does set him up there for a back raise from Shaky Shark. And it's curtains now for Daz Jarvis. He's got the dreaded two unsuited, unconnecting undercards. How bad can it be? That's about as bad as I can imagine against a pair of jacks.
Jack 2.
Jack 2, yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right. So he's got the massive chance of making trip nines. And he puts it down. Now let's see what happens. Not looking all that good. Well, it's looking better now.
6, 7, 8, 9. No. Here's another difference, I think. Something, again, that Devilfish alluded to yesterday, he was absolutely right, he didn't expand on it a great deal, is I think great players understand matchups and understand that 7-2 is not that much of an underdog to ace-king. It is an underdog, but if you factor in the likelihood that someone else will fold and give you an outright win, it's what makes sense of aggressive play. Dave actually used the phrase yesterday, any two cards can win. Sorry, Daz, take care. Better luck next time. Well done for making third. Now, that's a bit of a cliche, isn't it, in Hold'em, any two cards can win. But what he means by that is that when you certainly get to these stages in the tournament, you get a bit of understanding about the ebb and flow, you get an understanding of what your opponent's likely to put you on based on how many times you've been raising in the last 5 or 6 hands, and you understand that, in actual fact, certainly 9-10 suited is barely behind ace-2 at all. And I think those kind of understandings are what make a difference between a competent and a good player. Because what happens is players become good and they learn, Sklansky's hand rankings and all the rest of it, and then they spend the rest of their, well, they're not the rest of the time, then they spend several years swearing by them, do you know what I mean? And pointing their finger and laughing at anyone who calls with 7-8 out of position. When in actual fact there might have been very good pot odds reasons for that call.
Ooh, I don't know about that, Caspar. That may well be the way it was when you were learning limit poker, but since internet poker and the TV revolution came along, I wonder whether people come in, not necessarily competently, but enthusiastically playing those sorts of hands.
Oh, I think they do. No, it comes back to exactly what we were talking about a little time ago, which is that players go through a period of they learn about the game, and then they falsely apply those learnings. So they actually come in a bit wild and crazy. Oh, look at that, Shaky.
Oh, grab it quick before it goes. I've never seen that. We've got a colossal
6 cards.
6 cards, straight flush.
No, I've never seen that.
4. And a pair on the end.
You're right there, Tom.
And Robbie Lido made it straight. Oh, did it have to go so quick? We'll have it at the end again. Wow. Ooh. It's like a 4-leaf clover. It's like a 5-leaf clover.
Do you want me to leave?
No, you stick around, Caspar. We'll share this. Look at that.
Wow.
Ah, fantastic.
I'd quite like to leave.
And it's the penultimate one. No, stay, Caspar. Pleased you're here. Fantastic.
Are you going to give me some sweets?
No, I've had my sweeties. And in hearts too.
Really? Love hearts.
Good.
Brilliant. So what were you saying? Just to conclude our little discussion before we get to the emails there.
I can't remember.
Has that just completely blanked your mind?
It has, yeah. It's rewired my circuits.
You know, players were talking about how they learn, so they come in and they splash around for a bit, and then they do a bit of reading a book, and it's actually like it changes their play a bit, and then they get quite serious about it, and then they see someone else making some weird moves, and they go, you shouldn't do that unless you're the devilfish, do you know what I mean? And then they sort of understand, well, they get the principle of dead money and implied odds, and you know, the ability to make people fold and the benefits of aggression, and then they kind of come around to, well, the cards and the matchups, they're not that important. Well, they're not as extreme as I thought. And my point, you know, 9-10 is not that far behind Ace King, and when you throw all the other things into that mix, it can be correct to play them.
And likewise, Ace King is not the monster many people think it is, because, as Caspar says, do 7, 9, 10 aren't that far behind. I've got a very interesting email here from Frantic, who plays on our tables, who says, "Hi, Dr. Tom and Caspar. The brains berry." No pressure there then, Caspar. "Love the show and thanks for all your advice. When Andy Beale played Howard Lederer in April 2003 in a high-level heads-up limit Texas Hold'em 30,000, 60,000 blind game, he used a pocket watch or second hand. He used second hand to generate a random number, which he used to randomise his decision. Based on the position of the second hand, he would determine whether this was one of the 40% of times that he would raise, or one of the 60% when he would call. How would that work, and how would you apply it? Thanks to all the Poker Night Live team." Well, I think it works. If he's going to play his hand 40% of the time for a raise and 60% for a call, and he's worried that his opponent will spot some pattern that he's not aware of that determines whether he's going to raise or call, then he's absolutely right to externalise it like that. Human beings are very, very, very bad at doing things randomly. Very bad. You ask them to generate random numbers, they can't do it. And a good player, even if he's not aware of how he does it, will spot patterns in another player's behaviour. But the one thing that's interesting about this, and it comes back to the devilfish, Caspar, you were saying he always does the 3 times raise. Well, that's fine because it makes it basically invisible what he's up to. But it does mean that he's losing an opportunity here to possibly exploit his opponents by putting in different size raise. If he wants them to call and he thinks they'll call if he puts in 2, not 3, he's missing an opportunity there. So these kind of things here, Frantic, where you externalise a process and make it truly random, are good only if you're worried about being read. If you're not worried about that, because you know what your opponent's reading you for, then this is not wise, because you're throwing away an opportunity to maximise your play by varying when you raise and when you call, according to something you're spotting in your opponent. But fair dues to Andy Beale. If I was playing against Howard Lederer, I would be inclined to externalise my processes as well, because I'm sure he could read me. Caspar is on a game right now, so this is why you're getting a full throttle Dr. Tom. It's beat the presenter. He's clicking for all he's worth, and I don't know what that means, but we'll find out later. Looking forward to seeing Caspar's performance. Let's have one more email, and it's from eBagger. No, let's do eBagger afterwards. Stick around, eBagger. We're going to do you later. Let's have a look at... oh dear, my computer's gone all funny. Don't mind us. Let's have a quick look at what's in the hole while I'm sorting out the computer. Here it is. You've got to work out, folks, what is in the hole. What is Pakistan Ingler holding in his pocket cards here? Just follow what he does. We've had a lot of small blind what's in the hole questions recently, but he is sitting here in early position. He's flat called. More than anything else, I think, in the information to come, a flat call before the flop tells you something about his hand. It's highly unlikely to be 8 deuce. And now he calls rather than raising here. And that's interesting, because in many situations in Texas Hold'em, when you've got a marginal hand, it's correct to raise or fold it. If you think you're ahead, you raise it to prevent your opponent drawing cheaply, to say a flush here. But he's flat called, which could be an indicator of a massive hand. There aren't that many of them that flop affords. Or it could mean he's not quite sure where he is. He's up against snap it. So he's going to want to have some sort of hand, but he might fancy a bluff because snap it is relatively tight, which means he is potentially bluffable. By no means guaranteed. Potentially bluffable. In case you're wondering whether we've been infested by Death Watch Beetle, the tapping, as far as I know, is not coming from the blinds. It's Caspar, who I guess is typing into the chat box. Let's have a look at an email here from... Oh, there he is. Hard at work. How's it going, Caspar?
We've just started.
Okay.
So, abstract at the moment.
It's abstract down there, guys.
Yep.
Good. Alex has emailed us in a very concrete sense saying, been playing poker for about 9 months. Now I do really well, but I still want to improve my game. Thinking of reading a book. Could you tell me a good one to read and where to buy? Thank you, love your show. It has helped me a lot. You're welcome, Alex. I think the single most important thing that determines what book you should buy is whether you're playing limit or no limit. Because if you've been playing for 9 months, you already know enough about poker to benefit from going down one stream of learning. When you start poker, everything's a surprise to you, and many of the things you learn are relevant to both limit and no limit. But now 9 months in, I think you've got to make a decision. If it's going to be limit poker, then I don't know, Matthew Hilger would probably do it for you, Internet Texas Hold'em. It's a pretty comprehensive book full of lots of interesting problems. I don't play much limit myself. If it's going to be no limit or pot limit poker, for Texas, I would give probably, why not give Stuart Rubin and Bod Ciafone No Limit and Pot Limit Poker a go. It's a very nicely written book and of use to all forms of poker in pot limit and no limit form. Now, let's have a look at how our multi-table tourney is getting on. We've got 52 players left. And here are a few of them. They're spread across 7 tables. And the big stack is Jay's there. He's got 42,000 chips from an initial starting stack of 1,500. So he's sitting there with oodles of chips. 70 big lines. And although it's lovely to have that many big lines, in terms of betting decisions, his stack is no bigger than the biggest other stack on the table, which is BM with 30 big lines. And there they are in a pot. BM takes it down. Well, there it is. We'll be coming back to that throughout the evening, and unless it really does drag out, we'll have time in the last hour to catch the final table, which we do enjoy watching here on Blood. Oh, here we are. We love it so much, we've gone to a different table. And there's Gilberto, a regular sit-and-go player, somewhat denuded, 23,000. Doing all right. I think he was slightly higher earlier. In go the blinds, and there's pocket queens for athlete. $900 in the pot. He's got 12,000, so 12 times what's in the pot. And he's gone for a minimum raise there. And that will take it. Yes, it does. Unknown puts it down. And we've got some playable hands of late position here. Jack Queen off, Queen 10 potentially playable. Queen 10 suited, it's not a great hand. But if you fancy your ability to move around on the flop, then you can come in. Let's see who starts the ball rolling. Caspar is multi-tabling and writing a novel. Two players limp. Sort of flop that the blinds normally like. Neither player is caught. Whoever bets takes it. And Jop is actually not in great situation there to represent a big hand. He did just flat call before the flop, but Gilberto has got to decide, has he just got overcards, paint, or has he got a pocket pair? And Gilberto decides to give him the benefit of the doubt. Well, here we are. Here's me commentating. Here's Caspar tapping away for all he's worth. We're in view, Caspar.
I'm a fast typer.
You're a fast
Well, it
typer.
might be the only compliment I get tonight, so
Okay.
just hit fold when I meant to do something else.
If you're playing Caspar, here's your opportunity to pick up tells off his face or mine. Wow, look at that. I've often wondered how you play that hand, Caspar. What a rock. What a rock. You folded it without a moment's decision. Amazing. How's it going?
One of the two Doyle Brunsons. See if you can guess which one.
Ah,
How's it going?
not us.
I got 940. I've folded when I meant to do something different on one occasion, and it's not brilliant.
I think the difference between a competent and a great player a great player always types the right thing in. You are granite, Caspar. You are granite.
Who came first?
Well, this is how you
And
come
who went out
first.
first? They've just said that I went out first in my last tournament, and someone said I beat you with ace-9 and something, and I'm like, I've only played in this once, so someone's been playing under my profile, so who's that?
It wasn't me, Caspar. I don't normally break
Well,
into other people's accounts.
Well, someone has.
Normally cares.
Because somebody thinks that they've beaten me.
They're getting you mixed up with me because we're so similar.
In what way? In any realm of our lives? Sorry, I've got all antsy now because I'm in my poker
Do you know what? I
mindset.
found out in the break here, Caspar Berry doesn't know what malted milks are.
You said you were going to say that on air,
Yes.
and I would quite like... Guys, in the text box now, how many people know what malted milks are? Who malted milks is?
I think-
How many people know what malted milk is?
It must be grown up north. I don't know, with their food
It's
shortages.
nothing to do with the north.
I don't
Biscuits, says sausages. Me, no, says Raptor. Is it Dr. Tom playing in Caspar's name then? Not at the moment, it's me. A biscuit, no. So of these 8, 2 of them says no. Other people say malted biscuit. A biscuit with a cow on it.
There you go.
Never heard of them. Never, not even never seen them, never had one. Never heard of them.
Second question, if you eat malted milks, do you scratch the udders off the cow like our dysfunctional runner does? Because we'd be interested in knowing, okay, whether this is a normal behaviour for you to do. I prefer mine with their udders on. Well, we're going to take the cameras off Caspar because it's not fair when he's playing such a colossal hand as the one he's playing right now. So we're going to go down to 25 cent, 50 cent cash game.
They taste lovely, apparently, when dunked in coffee.
Cow's udders.
Yes, yes, Tom.
It would be a milky coffee. So our first cash game of the evening. And we've got Johan Haran and Snap It here. Tussling it out. In the cash game, of course, you can choose your seat. Johan Haran's a fairly aggressive player. Snap It doesn't seem to mind sitting 2 to his right. And Cincinnati Kid has come in for a race. Let's have a look at a few stats then. Stat attack, pre-flop folds. Snap It is our rock of the table there, folding most hands, and that's a pretty high pre-flop fold rate for an 8-handed table. And Tyler DCFC at the other end, and a fairly high calling rate, or at least playing rate, before flop. And quickly, how many hands won? Currently Snap It in the doldrums. We don't know how long he's been sitting there while we've been collecting those stats. And Cincinnati Kid at the top end. But a bit of time required for those stats to iron themselves out. Now, there's just a flat call with the ace-queen. We were talking about that earlier. Ooh, interesting flop. Very interesting. Swan Lee is ahead all over the place. But Snap It's not going to put Swan necessarily on a queen. It's not that salient a card. Snap It has the jack of clubs out. If something goes badly awry, he thinks, probably. Now, that is interesting. I think he might lay down here. He knows he's up against either a queen or a good flush draw. In fact, he's up against both. And I think he might let this go. Yes, he does. Well, laid down.
We've got a joke fest going on the table at the moment.
Oh, yeah?
It's making me laugh, throwing me off my game a bit.
That's what they're trying to do, Caspar.
Might hide behind it.
Turn off the chat box.
Can't do that. It's the boys, isn't it?
It's the boys. Oh, I know that joke. But you can't say it on air. Unfortunately, but it involves deer standing still.
It's the way you tell them, Tom.
I know.
It's brilliant.
It's the old sort of...
It's like being there.
The old variety. Musical stuff. Rat Blue leads out.
This has got to be the most interactive form of television ever. Because you get literally in real time exactly what people watching are thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. Let's do away with the emails. Let's just have a big chat box.
Yeah, but then I'd have to commentate on my own for 4 hours.
Yeah, but I'd have a great time.
Okay,
On the
fine.
plus side.
Well, it's obviously all about you.
How much time have you spent with me, mate?
Okay. Anyway, well, since it's my my happy remit to do the commentating while Caspar chats with his friends, we've got Swanley here with a pair of queens, Cincinnati Kid with the tens, and Big Mint is a big dog. Needs to catch that ace. Whoa! Catches 2 of them. And that's a turn up for the books, and that's great because he's got to worry about the strength of his ace when there are 2 players in the pot and there's action. But the fact that there are 2 there significantly decreases the likelihood that someone has one, so he can now act with more certainty. And furthermore, it's much easier to read your opponent. If he raises now and Cincinnati comes over the top, he's fairly sure he's up against an ace. Because, of course, Cincinnati can't know that he doesn't have an ace, as indeed he does. So it's really fairly easy to read your opponent when you've made trip aces. And Cincinnati, I'm sure, will let it go, and he does. So, lively cards coming out.
I've got to concentrate a little bit more and chat a little less, I think.
Yeah, you do that.
Yeah.
See, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to throw you off your game, Caspar.
Tell him there's nothing happening between me and Michelle.
As you fabricate your web of lies. Oh, trip 4s. Astonishing. Trip 4s up against nothing. I wonder if Swan Lee might have a pop at this. When you've got a pocket pair in your hand and the board is paired, it's less likely someone has caught a card. He doesn't, and I think they'll both lose interest now. Maximum sit down on this table is $50. So Big Mint and Cincinnati Kid doing all right. And just a limp there from Big Mint with the suited ace. Only worth doing in a very passive game, that. Where you can see the flop cheaply and hopefully also see a turn card cheaply and draw cheaply. Not a great hand on its own merits. Needs time to improve, and it hasn't improved there. Middle pair for Rat Blue. And that's a fairly ambitious play. No reason why a jack can't be out there. And he picks up a pair of queens. Let's see how he plays them.
Why did the blonde nurse bring a red marker to work?
I don't know, Caspar. Why did the blonde nurse do that?
In case she had to draw blood. See? It's good. It's good telly.
We've got an email from eBagger here saying, "Hi guys, great show as usual. Thank you, eBagger. I was playing the 19,000 guaranteed tourney on Friday. 39 players left. I had 107,000 in chips and got king in early to mid position. The blinds were 4,000, 8,000. Okie dokie. So you've got about 13 big blinds there, not that many. And you're raised 30,000. That's what you've done. All folded apart from one player who re-raised me all in. I figured he had Jack-Jack or maybe Queen-Queen or a loose raise with Ace-King, so I called, walked into Ace-Ace and out I went. My question is, was there any way, in your opinion, that I could have gotten away from that hand, especially as Ace-Ace had been dealt to another player in the previous hand, and that influenced my decision somewhat that it was unlikely that Ace-Ace was out again. Should I have folded? Is it even possible to fold that hand pre-flop when your tournament is on the line, as winning the hand would have virtually guaranteed a top 10 finish or even first place? Thanks, keep up the good work. Thanks a lot for that, eBagger. No, I don't think you can get away from kings in that situation. It's a perennial question that we've kicked around here on Poker Night Live. When can you get away from kings? Caspar has got away from them. I don't think I've ever laid down kings pre-flop in Texas so far. I've certainly walked into aces, but when you've got 12 big blinds, no, that is not the time to get scared about aces. If you've got 20 or 30, maybe, you know, against a tight player. But you're absolutely right there. I think in that situation, you're right to go in and hope to see queens, jacks, ace-king, or in fact any old junk that people do occasionally raise with. The only point I would say is that the fact that aces had come out on the previous hand, as I'm sure you know, and as any poker knowledgeable person knows, has absolutely no effect on the likelihood of them arriving on the next hand. Thanks for that, eBagger. Let's take ourselves back to our game. Whoa, look at this. Well, this game has been paused for our delectation. And we've got Johan Haren, who's flopped it. And now there's some outs. Rat blue, a deuce or a queen. That was all, and that would have helped him. But no help, and Johan Haren gets the right end of those implied odds. Tyler with ace-jack off. Let's see what we know about this player from how he plays his hand. He comes in for a big raise, 6 times the big blinds. And an even bigger call there from Rat Blue. Very big call, and that is a lot of money to spend. And he's going no places here. I wonder if he'll bet the gut shot if Tyler checks it. I don't much fancy a check there. 2 reasons. One is that my jack is not invincible. And secondly, there's not really any reason for them to put me on a jack. So I've got a good chance of getting paid if I bet. Don't habitually slow play. Don't automatically slow play it when you make your hand. Ask yourself, first of all, if I bet, will my opponents think I'm bluffing? And if that is the case, or might be the case, that's a good reason to bet. On that occasion, Tyler doesn't get any joy. Trying to fold, I think. And how will Snap It play these 7s? Four times the big blind takes it down. Back up to 50. And that can go in the bin. Wow. Everyone made up their minds fairly quickly. Golf Mad doesn't have to face any tough decisions with his jacks. And for his admirable tightness, Tyler is awarded with ace-king in the big blind. And very possibly no one to play against. Big Mint coming in. He's a bit loose, our Big Mint, but he's got the chips to justify his play. I wonder why he's calling. Raise, maybe. Trouble with the call there is that you would call with something like, very possibly call with something like 9-10. So by limping there in late position, when Big Mint makes his hand, his opponent might put him on it. He's got an inferior sort of hand for playing with there, but one that looks roughly like what he might have if a flop comes down with a 9 on it. So I don't like it much. I think if you raise there, then of course you've got the fold equity. Your opponents might fold and it gives you the blinds, which is what you're hoping for. But if you raise, you've misrepresented your hand. So I don't much like the call. Both players pair up here. $4.25 in the pot by the turn. Cincinnati letting Johan do the betting. No outdraw on the river. And nothing much there to write home about. Big dwell up for 6-9 off. Well, I think Rapper's going to fold, so let's go and have a look at some stats. It's the classic, the old pre-flop action table. This is where we find out who's passive and who's aggressive. Here you've got Golf Mad Chef, who's never raised. Hasn't called much either. And at the other end we've got Rat Blue there, who's a big fan of raising. In the middle, Cincinnati Kid is dividing his time equally between raising and calling. Thank you, Stat Merchant. Take us back to our game. And the only way is up for Johan. Well, that's not true in poker, but it is currently. Fairly lousy hands there. I thought Rat Blue was going on tilt when he called with that Queen 10 suited for 6 big blinds, but he's still in there. It is very important, even if you're not going on tilt or steaming, to be aware of the fact that your opponents might think you are. So if you lose a big pot, either through bad luck or playing it badly, just bear in mind that your opponents might be a bit more likely to call you in the next few hands because they think you might be on tilt. So just remember that, and remember, play against your image. If that is your image, you might be on tilt, then when you put in a big bet, it should be on the back of a genuine hand. Caspar Berry still going strong in this tournament. What's the stakes, Caspar? You don't know. You poker maniac.
81.60.
No. How much did you pay to sit down?
Oh,
You don't know. You'll play any game.
did I just swear under my breath?
I didn't hear you.
Someone said I just sweared on national TV. It's not out of the question if I'm playing Euro poker. $10? $20? $10.
I don't think you're setting a great.
Finger on the pulse, mate. Finger on the pulse.
I don't think you're setting a great example here for our bankroll concerned people by sitting down in the game not knowing how big it is. I mean, I know your bankroll is huge. I'll let Caspar get on with it, but I know his bankroll is huge. But you know, you've got to know what you're sitting down in. It's basic poker stuff, isn't it? Ooh. Caspar's got a bit of a decision here. Keep the camera on. Let's have a close-up on Caspar, shall we?
Well, isn't that...
Well, you're dwelling up.
Doesn't that put me slightly at a disadvantage?
No, oh God. Well, fold and we'll talk about it. I'm sorry, Caspar. I should apologise there on air, because what I meant to say is Caspar is deciding, but it was obviously interpreted by Caspar and consequently everyone else, once he said it, that I meant he had a marginal hand, which might or might not be true. But I think I've committed a terrible poker faux pas. Caspar is absolutely livid. So we're going to go back to the game now and hope I'm still around at the next break. I'm sorry, Caspar. I feel terrible. I feel really bad.
I think he would. Well, yeah, he would have stuck it in anyway. But I think we have to have some sort of.
We should have some etiquette. Were you going to call or play?
He said something really threw me. Yeah, I should have. These tournaments are too fast, I think, not to.
Oh well. Oh dear, I'll keep my big mouth shut for the duration of Caspar's tourney. Queen King in the big blind. It's about the best of the lot. Looking like it might be a tussle between Rat Blue and Cincinnati, but no, Big Mint comes in. He is playing some funny old hands. 7-10 off suit. It's one of the worst hands I can think of. Just good enough to get you into trouble, but not good enough to get you out. And look at this. Having said that, he's flopped a hand in which he's Cincinnati, but still gets pushed off it. Ah, well, there you go. He knew what was coming on the turn. Time to raise. That's not that strong. And I raise bigger than that. What if he's got a flush draw? And certainly good enough to push out nothing, but I think Cincinnati made it a bit cheap for him there. 2 pair, probably ahead, difficult to improve. So time to bet it. There are the queens again. 4 times the big blind, 3 times the big blind, 6 times the big blind, just a minimum. 6 times the big blind it is. And that's going to take it. It's the siren song of the one gap suited cards that Tyler is about to fall under the spell of. No, he doesn't. Strapped to the mast. He manages to avoid them. Rat Blue, however, unable to resist quite a different siren song, which is the possibility of nicking the blinds, and he does so successfully. Oh, I've got a feeling about this hand. I think Johan Haren's going to make a monster. All depends on how much Rat Blue puts in. Now, raise it and punish the limper, or flat call and look for the implied odds. I think Rat Blue was quite right. Ooh, very interesting there. Cincinnati flops himself the gut shot and a nut flush draw. Rat Blue has nothing. It's gone check, check. There is the flush. And Rat Blue can get away from this. Probably time to bet here for Cincinnati. And I guess his logic there is that if his opponent has connected, he might call any sized bet. Even, well, $9, which was the most Rat Blue could put in. And if he hadn't connected, well, he was going to fold to any size bet. And offsuit ace this time.
Hi, Gemma. Big shout out to Gemma there. I've watched Radio 1.
It's pretty boring to watch.
Yeah, I'm not thinking straight. Oh.
Could have a pot here. Ace, queen in the small blind. Big mint. Yeah, not surprised he comes in. And Cincinnati would be wise just to complete, I think. Now, best hand at the moment is the pair of tens in Rat Blue's hand. And it's a small bet, and with that sort of flop, which affords much in the way of draws, 9-10, great cards to make someone a straight draw, a couple of clubs. He's inviting people to come in. On the other hand, he does get away from it cheaply if someone raises him. And he'll be surprised, I think, to take it down so cheaply. There's a punishing raise from Big Mint. No limp, as he says. Cincinnati should release, and Swan Lee discovers now that 10 jack off is a difficult hand to play from early position against a raise. And although that's about the best he can expect to catch a jack on average, he doesn't know where he is. And now he may just get pushed onto the back foot of calling. Let's have a look at how he deals with the situation. One thing is for sure, he really does have to play it now. Having called before the flop, he must play it. He's decided for a raise, and that, I think, will take it down. Yes. Well done. And there is that ace queen again. Ace jack in trouble. Well, unless Cincinnati folds. Snappet's played very few pots. Cincinnati puts in a minimum raise here, but that's interesting because it doesn't necessarily tell him where he is. It's almost as if he's hoping to be raised so he knows where he is, because he'll get a call against pretty much any hand. Snappet folds. Wow, that was a maybe a sort of move you would only make against a pretty tight player. And the odds were long there, and I'm pretty sure Snappet would have called with a range of other hands, but just not that highly dominatable one. Ace jack, very interesting. And the right fold and the right raise. Queens again. Rat blue in trouble. Oh dear, Rat Blue in a lot of trouble here. He's, I think, going to have to raise. So he's flat called. Still no overcards to his tens arrived. And now he's got the flush draw as well, and he makes it on the river. He makes it on the river. Golf Mad Chef made it pretty cheap for him there on the turn. But shortage of action on the river because his flush wasn't exactly magnificent. There it is, and Jack takes it down for wrap. How to play eights in early position. For a raise, Tyler decides. The loosest player at the table is in the small blind, that's Big Mint. So Tyler will have position on him if Big Mint calls, but with a pair of eights, position is not as useful as it is with some other cards. You are, for example, vulnerable to a semi-bluff, which is what Big Mint had on offer there, holding the up and down straight draw. And Tyler has just decided to check it down to the river. It looks like his raise before the flop was designed to take the blinds, and if that didn't work and he didn't catch an 8 on the flop, then he was just going to check it down and hope to show a winner. But to bet on the end there is very strange. Very strange indeed. To check it down and safely get to the river and take it to a showdown and then to come out betting is bizarre. Because if he thought he had a good hand, he should have bet it earlier, and he just gave his opponent an opportunity to stick in a raise. So I'm not sure what the logic was there. If you're watching, Tyler, then do drop us an email and tell us what crucial information I missed, because I'm sure there was a reason, but I didn't see it for that river bet there. 5 big blinds takes it down. And a bet for the King 10. Let's have a look. No, just a flat call. Johan might want to come in here. He's got a lot of chips. Big Mint's got a lot of chips. Johan's seen Big Mint get involved in pots. He might want to play it for implied odds, but he plays it for a raise, so he must think that there's a reasonable chance that Big Mint will lay down here. Otherwise, that raise is incorrect. Big Mint does call, but Johan Haring catches the flush draw. Now, pot size bet. Interesting, because he's not played this hand at all for implied odds. It's a sort of hand that's really not much used on its own merits, but he's been determined to bet it and push people out rather than keep them in for when he makes his flush. But he has managed to get the best of both worlds. He's been betting and getting called and made his flush, so this is working out wonderfully for him. Unfortunately, I really can't see how Big Mint can persevere with just a gut shot draw, and he doesn't, he folds. Rapidly mixing up there with a minimum raise with 4-5, looking for maximum misrepresentation at minimum cost. And he's got a call, and let's see if he makes his flush. Minimum raise no good. He's been pushed around. That's a bit too much to pay there to draw to 4-5. He's up against strength. His opponent's probably going to bet at him and a lot of flops. The ace slowed down Cincinnati there. And he did put in quite a large amount relative to the pot there to draw to that 4-5 suited. He was only getting something like 3-1.
I lost my connection.
Well, we're going to do an email while Caspar has a fright of his life. I think he's back in the game.
Yeah, I'm back in the game.
Every poker player's horror story.
The whole screen just went black.
Let's have a look at my emails are fine here. Obviously, the priorities of the electronic wiring is that we have emails rather than poker. Email from Poker, says someone called Poker. Evening, morning, Tom and Cass. The future of poker as big as golf? Nah. Apart from some tenuous joke I can't quite think of about losing balls in rivers, I think that's where the similarity will end, he says. The thing I think about poker is the skill factor will never be appreciated outside of the game. All of us that have ever hit a golf ball, and many of those that haven't, can appreciate Tiger Woods has something special. Any that have ever stood on ice can understand that Torvill and Dean had something going for them, and not just an ability to fall flat on their backsides. Anyone watching a poker game who does not have a comprehension of any true skill element it might involve will never appreciate the players might actually deserve their win through their knowledge and application of the mechanics of the game. Poker, he says, will continue to grow, certainly, and there will always be new players believing they have a chance at 7.5 million at the World Series of Poker. The non-participating spectators that other sports attract, however, will never be drawn to poker. That's what I think anyway. Well, that's a very insightful message there from, I'm getting a bad feeling from Caspar on my left here, from Poker there. Thanks for that. I think you have a point there. Have we got time for another email? Caspar ticking away. We have not got a time for that email because it's a relatively interesting one, so we're going to carry on after the break. We're going to have a look at Caspar's game after the phone-in that we've got coming out right now with our man Paul. Look forward to finding out what the cause of all the chat is. But it's certainly been a cracker. High tense stuff. 62211, 62211 to get in touch with us here on the show. Send in your poker questions or poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Still time to keep those emails coming. We're going to be looking at Caspar's game later, but for now we're going to quickly take ourselves over to Paul Chung. Hi Paul, are you there?
Hey guys, yeah, I'm here.
How are you doing? Have you won any pots since we last
Yeah,
spoke to you?
I think you guys are bringing me luck. I've just hit a full house on the river, Jack full of fours, so it's all good.
We are like a little charm, aren't we?
If only it worked for us, Paul.
Like a lucky conch.
Maybe you should give me a call every night when I'm playing.
How was it with the devilfish for you then, Paul?
Yeah, well, basically I met him recently at the, I don't know if you know the 888 Poker Nations Cup.
Mm.
Now, I'm not allowed to talk about the result, I don't think, because I don't think it was on air yet.
Okay.
But basically, he was the captain of Great Britain,
Right.
and it was pretty exciting. But yeah, he's quite a character, really. So he's on our cover for the next issue.
So how big were each of the teams? How many did he captain?
Sorry?
How many did he captain, Paul?
How many did he captain?
Yeah, how big were the teams?
About 6 or 7, I think.
Okay, excellent. Who was on the British team in total?
So sorry?
Who was on the British team altogether?
A couple of the Hendon mob, Joe Beavers, Ram Maswani, Tony Bloom was there. And then you had a few groupies like Victoria Corrin and Julian Gardner, people like that.
Excellent. And what did you make of Dave? I thought he was. We interviewed him on the show last night, and I just thought it was fantastic talking to a guy who's been there and done everything that you can do in poker, really.
Yeah, he has. I mean, I think I've met him quite a few times, and I mean, honestly, the first time I met him, I think I didn't have the best impression of him. Let's be honest, when I first met him, but he's kind of grown on me.
And why not?
Recently, because he's got. I think he's renowned for liking the ladies a bit, and I found it.
Yeah,
a bit...
no, he demonstrated that last night. He was good. Him and Michelle hit it off big time.
Sorry?
Did they?
Yeah, they really did.
I know he likes to give someone a rub down.
He didn't give me a rub down.
Okay.
Don't gave you a rub down.
But I think the interesting thing about Devilfish is that he is going to rub some people up the wrong way. And he's completely relaxed about that, isn't he? He knows that. That's part of the deal you get with Devilfish. But I think that when you go beyond that, there's a guy who can just tell you anything you want to know about the game and the players and everything.
Yeah, I think he's one that. I mean, I think he's a real character of the game. He's shown that he can stand toe to toe with pretty much any player in the world. And yeah, I mean, he's really good for the game. And he's just done that. He did that thing with Ultimate Poker on Channel 5, where he was a mentor to people. He gets involved with everything. Really, he's got his own merchandise. He's basically a one-man kind of brand.
He really is. He really is. As someone who's met a lot of the players in the poker world at the moment, Paul, who do you respect? Who do you think's going places? Who do you think has a great media presence and the skill and talent to back it up?
A great media presence and the skill to back it up.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who I met recently. I met, Robert Williamson III?
I don't.
He's an American player. It's funny that he doesn't have a bigger profile because he's got a World Series poker bracelet. He's come in the Omaha, the $1,500 at the World Series. He's come second 3 times. He's so charismatic. He absolutely loves the camera. He's absolutely brilliant for the game. His reads are absolutely spot on. He's amazing. I was really surprised. I mean, you get all the big names always bandied around like Ivy, Negrani, but there's so many players who are probably just as good, but for some reason they're not quite. Their profile isn't quite there yet.
And how about in England? Who do you think is blazing a trail right now in England?
Who do I respect? Well, I just did a piece on Tony Bloom actually because I was following him at the Aussie Millions. I think he's always a player. He's always been there. Super good.
Excellent. How about you, Tom? Who do you think's up there at the moment in Britain?
Well, you've got to think about John Gale after his performance at the World Series this time around. He's obviously someone who knows what he's doing. Be interested to see if he can repeat his performance this year round.
Yeah. I wonder do you think an English player can win the World Series?
No, definitely. Yeah, definitely. No reason why not. The only problem is it's a numbers game, isn't it? There are now 5,500 people. They come from all over the world. Therefore, the likelihood of it being English person or any other individual nationality is just become so much slimmer these days. But I tell you what, Paul, if you will stay with us, and we'll come back to a little bit of time, and we'll talk about the future of poker generally, I think, and how the World Series and all those other big tournaments are going to shape up, because it's interesting. It's changing so rapidly, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. I mean, the buy-ins are just getting ridiculous now.
Yeah, we're going to have to leave you now, Paul. But good luck with your tournament. We'll speak to you shortly.
Welcome back to the Poker Night Live. Me and Caspar. We're about to see Caspar's glorious sit and go. But before we do that, we've got an email here from Big Jace who says, "Hi guys, amusing and informative show as always. Keep up the good work." Thank you very much. Following on from your discussion of malted milks, which are lovely by the way.
Wouldn't know.
I have a question now which has vexed me for a while. What do you recommend as the ideal snack food while playing online? Today I've been mostly eating Chewits and have been suffering the most incredible outdraws. However, the other night while eating breadsticks and dip, I had outrageously good fortune. Should I plan my online snacking regime accordingly? If I was going to guess, I would say Cass enjoys a big tub of marshmallows, while Tom is a crudities man. Well, it's true, crudities are high in fibre, I won't deny that. Well, it depends whether you want all your teeth to fall out from the Chewits or getting incredibly fat on the dip. I don't know, Caspar, any thoughts on snacking?
I used to be a big fan of a big tub of marshmallows, I have to say. Bought from a garage, £5. Fantastic. But I do agree with him. I think the best food for luck purposes is something very high in carbs, low in moisture content. Nothing like cheese straws or breadsticks. I like cheese straws, personally.
They significantly increase your outdraws?
Hugely calorific.
Right.
No, just generally good for luck for yourself.
So you're fat and lucky?
Yeah.
Whereas crudities, you've got great bowel movements, but you'll never pull off an outdraw.
So that's the trade-off.
Yeah, I don't know. Bowel movements are pretty important in the main thing. Well, this is a great email, Big Jace, but we just don't know. I suggest you do a full statistical sample across all the possible snacks you could eat. And in 10 years, if you're still alive, let us know. Now, there's no point dilly-dallying. We've got Caspar's sit and go to have a look at, so we're going to go to it now. Let's have a look. Oh, Caspar's playing under his own account.
We're starting not from the beginning again, I see.
Well, all you've done is lose a few chips, so you can't have done anything particularly brilliant, unless it's fold kings to aces. Well, why should we disappoint the viewers when it comes to Caspar's brilliant opening game? We're going to go back to our emails and rewind that game through the power of Poker Night Live.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I just think I lose a lot of games. I lose a lot of hands in the early section. I think it's important to see that.
What do you mean you lose a lot of hands?
I lose hands before we come in there. I lose quite a lot, and it's important to see that to get a sense of the context of the whole tournament.
Okay.
I think.
Fine, fair enough. Loin Al Blair says, "Evening, boys. Love your show and your zany antics." I love your zany spelling, Loinal. What's your opinions on how to play the bubble? It's the bubble. It's placed just before you go out, especially when the blinds are huge. Keep up the good work. How do you play the bubble, Caspar?
Do you know what? I think when the blinds are huge, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't change anything. When the blinds are huge, that's what makes your decisions for you. I think you've got one slight consideration, which is, are other players likely to knock themselves out without you? But I mean, as you'll see in the sit and go we're about to play, by that time the blinds are like a third of everyone's stack or more. So your decisions are basically made for you. That's the problem with poker at that stage. Your decisions are basically made for you. And if your decisions are made for you, then what edge do you have over other people? So.
Perhaps one thing we should say, though, is that sometimes when the blinds are very big, you can see that someone is going to be all in on the next hand. And if that's a situation where you're at the bubble and you can see someone must play the next hand, then that should determine whether you enter the pot or not. What's in the hole reveal? Or should we have Caspar's sit and go game? Which should we go for? I think we'll go for the what's in a hole reveal. Here it comes. We've been waiting for Pakistan England to reveal himself for some time now and see what's in his hole. King 4 suited. In the context of the hand, a loose call, I'd have to say here, Caspar. Don't know about you.
Yep, hard to put him on that up front.
And he's dominated by Snappit. But he makes the flush draw. So he misses and Snappit catches, but Pakistan England's got the flush draw, which is really a lot more useful than middle pair in most tight aggressive games.
What do you mean by useful, Tom?
Because you know where you are and you can act accordingly.
Ah.
And that's money in the bank.
All about knowing where you are.
12 in the pot. snap it bets 4, does he? I can't remember what he does here. No, he checks it. And Pakistan, England, sensing a trap, checks and makes his flush on the river. I think it's about time we saw one of these Watson the hole where the guy didn't make a hand. Because it's getting a bit predictable, isn't it? You know, you expect him to have the hand. And there it is, bets and doesn't get paid. Does he get paid? I don't think he gets paid. No. Well folded. So there it is. That was what was in the hole. Lovely. Now, definitely, we're going to go to Caspar's tourney. Let's have a look. Soon. Or we could do another email.
Let's do another email. Oh, we're ready.
Okay, let's go to the tournament then. Here it comes. There it is. Blinds 10-20. Everyone with it's pristine. Everyone with 1,000. Caspar draws the big blind. Caspar, what's your thinking with a king 5 then?
Oh, I'm thinking that's rubbish.
Okay,
isn't it?
And tell me what you know about these players when you see you sitting down with.
Well, I know Steve's fairly solid.
That's Balrog UK.
Balrog UK, sorry, yes. And that's about all I know, really. I've seen some of the others, but I haven't, you know, pinned them on anything. I'm not sure why I'm taking time here. I think I'm probably just chatting in the box. Apologies for that. So yeah, so I'm gonna, and the other thing that I know is someone's got to show me that they are going to buck this trend of playing very, very tightly in these tournaments, because it tends to be the case that these online tournaments with presenters there to be beat have been, you know, quite tight. Now this is an interesting hand actually. This opening hand. I appreciate your thoughts on it, Tom. So I flopped the straight draw. 7, 8, 9, 10. I check. Kev checks. He's wondering whether to bet out second pair, but he doesn't. Scotty checks. And Lockryan bets out with a pair of queens, and he bets a really good bet, a nice big solid bet. And I'll be honest with you, I meant to call. And I'll tell you why I meant to call, is because I think that my straight is actually quite hidden, because it's a one gapper on the board, and a one gapper in my hand. But I don't, I fold. I feel that if anyone's going to play behind me, and even if they don't, my implied odds will just make up for it. I'm getting slightly less than 2-1 on the call. So I hit the wrong button. In fact, I turned to you and I said I've hit fold by mistake, and that was that hand. What do you think? It's not a crisis, is it? I haven't got anything. But
yeah, I like your logic. A call is fairly unlikely behind you, which is very, or a raise rather, which is important there, that you get to see the turn cards.
I mean, in general, I don't like playing draws like that at this stage. It's 100 kind of down the drain for me in some cases. You know, if it was 50 and the pot was offering me 1.8 to 1, then I would definitely have called it.
Because of the implied odds.
Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably would have let it go. I might have intended to let it go and accidentally press call. I don't know. But it's just not great odds to catch it on the turn, and I don't know he's not going to bet at me on the turn. I think if I've got a reasonable chance of seeing the river for free, that would change my likelihood of calling. Kev Steele was 61.01. Let's see what Caspar does with his 7-8 off. The mother of all hands, and he knows it, comes in with a call. Keeping those implied odds as long as possible. Makes a gut shot. Or gut shot draw, we should say. I think he's going to fold here.
Do you know I do? Would you have called your inside straight draw?
No, I wouldn't. And the 8s are good, provided they don't get bet off it.
So I've made a couple of these early position calls that I like to make. Well, I think one of them was in the blind, wasn't it? But and nothing's come off. So the consequence of that is I'm losing, not much.
No,
but it all goes down as a loss.
A 20th of your stack.
Still doesn't feel good though. Because I find that when you have these little flutters early doors, that you can accumulate. It might only be like sort of another 300, but I do think it can be effective. It's not being at the moment. What I'm really trying to do is double through in the early stages of the tournament. That's my strategy.
Which is interesting because it's completely opposed to Mark Bannon's, who looks to stick around and then pick up chips quickly when he thinks he can push people around when the blinds are a bit bigger.
Yep. Making jam, raising it up there with ace-10. What's my overview of this tournament is that I get my luck when you want it in a tournament, so we'll see how that sort of pans out.
Sorry, what do you mean by that, Caspar?
And what the result is. Well, there are key inflection points, aren't there, in tournaments? Do you want your luck now, getting a monster hand when no one's really going to take a risk with a much smaller hand? Not really, for me. You want your luck later on in the tournament when people are being forced into decisions.
Right, so you want to have the best hand when it's going to get called.
But yeah, you can't control that, by the way, Tom. I'm not making a strategic point.
No, but you can... no, but this is an important point, Caspar, because if you are around at that point...
That's right.
Then you're in a position to capitalise on it.
That's right. Queen Jack in first position.
You folded with nary a hesitation.
I did hesitate, but that would be due to other things than thinking about whether to play it or not. And look, I would have flopped second pair, and look at the trouble I would have got myself into. As indeed Wizard has. By hitting top pair with a lousy kicker. But we'll forgive him because he's in the blind.
And he folds. So we'll forgive him and then praise him. Oh, look, you had that a minute ago, 8-10 diamonds.
Perhaps they're not random after all.
And it was in the big blind. Have we rewound?
Nope. No, Lockrine had queens on that occasion.
That's right. Different hand. Looks like Caspar's going to see the flop cheaply, which is what you want to do with 8-10 of diamonds.
Checkity, checkity.
Now, making jam sometimes lets his wife play his account, and she likes to play aces with small kickers. But it looks like this is the original owner of the account. No raise there.
I check second pair there because of the number of people that are playing against me. But look at that. Scotty, the cad, bets out with third pair.
Makes your blood boil. I bet you fold.
I certainly do.
Makes your blood boil.
Very pleased for him. Well done, Scotty.
I mean, I know it's called Beat the Presenter, but that's taking liberties.
He bluffed me.
He did.
Good for him. So button moves, and I'm getting really down around now.
Oh, Caspar.
No, not suicidal or anything to allow the infiltration of tilt. I'm just thinking, button's been around a couple of times now, haven't had anything.
But you've still got 90% of your chips.
Yeah. That's true. 6-10.
You need a few malted milks to sort you out. That's what I do when I get down. Have a couple of packets of them.
Seriously, I want to go to Tesco's and buy some of these things, all right?
Okay, yeah, do it.
I'll do that.
Pretty good with coffee. Not so good with tea.
Are they all shape of a cow, or...?
No, the biscuits are your regular, rectangular, sort of cheap biscuits.
They've got a picture of a cow.
They've got a picture of a cow.
Are they all cows, is what I'm saying, or are all farmyard animals?
Well...
Well, don't laugh, I don't know. I mean, it's not obvious if you'd ever...
You're right, it's not... I'm just trying to imagine a mix-up at the factory where they got chickens on them one week. Well, they were always cows when I had them.
Okay.
But who knows, they may have diversified.
Hence the milk.
Have a look, go to the supermarket and find out. In fact, bring them in, because, you know, I fancy a biscuit around about 12:30.
All right, mate, I'll bring them in.
Are you still down at this point, Caspar, or have your spirits revived?
I may have overestimated the down
Okay.
aspect. I'm painfully aware after the last and only tournament that I played on this site, these are very, very fast sit and goes. And you're right, I do disagree with Mark's style. I think you've got to accumulate. Mm-hmm. And I think that these are tight players, and you've got to do something early to start accumulating chips, because I think after a certain point, everyone's just in the same boat. And I think I've got to try and maximise my chances of having some more chips than them later on. So I don't feel good at the moment unless I'm in that situation. As Wizard bets out with his flush, leaving himself 110. And Locker Iron folds, and Wizard showed us all his flush. There I am with the Dorbranson.
In case you're wondering, yeah, 10-2 is the Dorbranson, not the aces. Aces is the everyone hand.
Two hands called Dorbranson, Ace-Queen and 10-2. They're both known for different reasons. The Ace-Queen is called the Dorbranson because it's the hand that Dorbranson famously hates. He believes he lost more money with that hand than any other. And the 10-Deuce is called the Dorbranson because it's the hand that, coincidentally, Doyle won with in 2 consecutive World Series, won 2 World Championship bracelets. And leads people to misunderstand the whole concept of 10-Deuce. On both occasions, Doyle wasn't playing the cards, he was playing the man. And playing aggressive heads-up poker. Just so happened that it was a 10-Deuce on both occasions. Really not aware that Doyle believes has any sort of affinity with the hand beyond the retrospective coincidence.
Now here's a tough Poker Night Live quiz question for you. So if you think you're a poker part of the poker cognoscenti, let's see if you can get this right, because I don't know the answer. So in fact you could send anything in. But what were the 2 hands that he beat with his 10-Deuce?
Good question, Tom.
Well, should we put you under the spotlight, Caspar, and see where you are on the stats?
Loose, I hope. Loose goose.
Let's just see how Charwell gets on with his kings.
Kings and sixes.
Moreover, yeah. Who's in there? Of course, stats this early on, I think we would all have to say, do not mean a lot. But there they are.
Not very loose. Quite
No,
tight.
You're rock. Thank you, Statman.
So what do you make of this table generally, Tom? You see this table, do you think it's a tight table? Do you think it's a...
No, Charwell's a reasonably loose player.
Mm-hmm.
Balrog UK, fairly solid. Scotty, we see it quite a lot. I don't remember forming an opinion about him, which probably means he's tight aggressive, which is where my basic assumption is of a player until I know otherwise.
Mm-hmm. There's an anonymous post on the site at the moment that says Scotty is sneaky.
Oh.
It's not anonymous, but I won't read his name out just to preserve his identity.
I wonder what that means. Is that a compliment or a character
Sneaky means sort of
assassination?
underhand or duplicitous.
Yeah, but in the context of poker, that could be a compliment.
Mm-hmm. A compliment. Ah, Scotty is married to Fast Bandit. So there you are.
Oh, really? Who's Fast Bandit?
They're man and wife. Fast Bandit is a player.
Oh.
Yeah.
And do we know which is the male of the two?
Scotty.
Of course, this day and age, they could both be blokes.
We're pointing that out.
Yeah, just in case anyone didn't know. Well, it's pretty quiet sit and go you're in, Caspar.
Tis, isn't it? Tis. It's not the action Jackson.
How's the multi-table do?
There I am, folding 7 Jack suited in the small blind.
Hello, what's this?
At least I'm true to my word, folding my small blind because it's rubbish.
I wonder if Wizard's going to bet this. Let's have a look. No, I guess flat calls.
Ace-8 versus 8-7. Will aggression dominate and take the other out? Charwell has reverse position here. It's not called reverse position, what's it called?
Well, I call it counter position.
Counter position, I
But
think.
our man we had on the other day, it's called it Irish position.
Who's our man we had on the other day?
A guest.
A guest.
And
guess
that's what
as
he
much.
called it. Thank you, Caspar. It's all those jokes in the chat box.
I tell you what, it was joke-tastic. Do you know what? In the chat box, when we play these, we beat the presenter tables, the reason why I love the section more than anything else is because the banter is the second best banter table I've ever been at in my life. And it will never beat the first best, because the first best was a game I played in New Year's Eve once in the Monte Carlo, and the poker room decided to buy us all just crates and crates of champagne. It wasn't champagne, it was sparkling wine, but just literally about that high, just crates of sparkling wine. Now the poker room in the Monte Carlo is, you know, it's not small, but it's only about 8 tables big, and not everyone was drinking. So basically, we were just absolutely hammered, and we were always massive party hats and things. And we all had those things, you know, those party streamers. We all blew there whenever we thought someone was bluffing, right? And we all rang a little bell whenever we claimed to have a big hand. So sometimes you ring a little bell and just make a little bet. Sometimes you ring a little bell and make a big bet. It was absolutely hilarious. It's the funniest game of poker I've ever played.
So not gritty backroom smoke fug in the air, sepia-toned,
so
grizzled
funny.
veterans.
It was lovely, and it was just a really lovely atmosphere. I've never, certainly in Vegas. Oh, look at this hand, key hand. Because here I am.
Oh, look at that.
Raising it up with 4-9, because I've got to. I'm just being blinded away, and you just cannot let that happen. Now, because I haven't played a hand, obviously I've got to, you know, trust that no one's got ace-king or kings or aces behind me. But I'm hoping that my raise is going to get a lot of respect.
And do you fold if you're back raised?
Scotty called me a thief. Oh, definitely, yeah, and that's why I did it with that hand, because I know that I will fold if I'm back raised with that. And then unfortunately, and then I'm in a weird situation here. Oh, no, I'm not in a weird situation at all. I just fold that without thinking twice, because Wizard did me the honour of raising it up. But if Wizard hadn't raised me up, I might have raised again.
And what was it? I didn't see it.
I had a 8-9 suited.
And now is the logic there, the fact that they'll think, well, he might have been bluffing last time, but he
Yeah.
must have it this time.
Yeah. Yeah, and again 8-9 suited. Not a bad hand if someone calls me. I'm okay with that if someone calls me. So yeah, that 4-9 was basically, you know, I'm just sitting there thinking I've got to do something. You know, there's 120 in the pot now. Otherwise, I'm just going to ebb and ebb away, and I refuse to let that happen. And I think this is something I tried to communicate during the last sit and go that I played. You have to think 15 minutes ahead. It's no good getting 15 minutes down the road and going, well, I haven't made a move and now I've got nothing. I think you've got to do something early doors.
And what do you think of the people who say, well, in the next 5 minutes, you might get a genuine hand. You might get ace-king, ace-queen suited.
Yeah, I might do.
Jacks upwards.
I might do, but I might not.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And it's all about how you're perceived. If I'd played 6 or 7, 8 hands in that first part, which I could quite easily have had if I had better cards in later position, For example, I'm going to fold this. I don't think twice about this. This is ace-10 in first position. That's what I don't want to play, and this is the point that I'm always making here. I'd rather play 4-9 suited in a position where I think I can steal than ace-10 in first position. Because it's not about the cards, it's about, do I think that people will fold to me?
Mm-hmm. So you're treading water, but then so is everyone else, really, or making jams on the decline.
Well, that's right, and that's why I raised for that 4-9, because it's, you know, this is a very tight table, and I think you've got to.
Yeah, blinds 40-80, third level of the blinds.
Ah, right, here we go. Now I misplay this. Okay, so I check the flop. He's got ace-2. Okay, I check the flop, and then I bet, and I don't bet the minimum here. I bet 160, and my thinking behind that is, if you bet the minimum, I think it looks, what's the word? Suspicious anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're going to make some money, you've got to make some money. But Wizard actually, what he said was he thinks a long time about this, and he says, I would like to see your cards there. So there you go, Wizard. I had you bang to rights. And I wonder whether if I'd bet the minimum or if I'd checked it, he would have bet out.
I'll tell you why I love the 160 there, is it just looks like a sum where you're trying to buy the pot.
Mm.
It just looks like you're trying to find a price which is just a bit too big for him to call, and so a sophisticated player will put you on that. So that's the sort of price I'd have put, I think.
Well, good, excellent. That makes me feel a lot better. I felt at the time that it was a mistake, but no end to that sentence. It just sort of tailed off, really, didn't it?
Well, you know, there's only so much backslapping we can do. So, but I think it was also you give him the wrong price if you did have one of those flush draws.
Yeah, sure. But I wonder whether you do need. Well, no, it's not. For me, it's not now the early stages. I mean, the blinds are now a tenth of the original stack, give or take, or 8%, and I'm not in the situation where I can just take a risk in order to accumulate big. You've got to start playing solid poker, I think, at this stage. We like to say in the first two stages you can call sometimes pre-flop with aces and kings because you don't want to win the blinds, you want to win a big pot. But so what happens here? Oh, there we are. Lock Ryan probably saves me a lot of money because look, I've got ace-8, and if it had been passed around to me there, I might have raised with it.
And are you secretly pleased there when it's raised in front of you because it removes from you the burden of stealing?
Yes, but that's pathetic, isn't it?
Well, I share your patheticness because I feel the same way.
It is pathetic because poker's a game. We say, how many times do we say it? Poker's a game of decisions. We should be able to make that decision in the absence of the raise. But yes, absolving us of the need to make the decision is. Thank you very much. Sevens beat jacks by flooping a set. Second door Brunson the night, and another door Brunson next to me.
Extraordinary.
It's like being John Malkovich.
In he goes. And they're going to be an interesting decision for Lockie round when it comes round to him, because he will be getting more than 2-1, but with a sort of hand that might well be dominated. But then again, of course, Kev Steele might have smaller pockets, so he does call. And I think against all the hands that Kev Steele would make that move with, probably Lockie round was getting the odds he needed to call there. And in fact, he makes his flush.
Yeah.
So, first casualty, and you've got Charwell on your left.
And I've got Snowmen. Actually, I can't remember what I do here. That's weird. Oh, right, yeah. I just raise and take it, I think. 3 times the big blind.
And I've got a feeling, Caspar, you throw these away if you're back raised from Lockie.
Yeah, I would, yeah.
But not Scotty, I would assume not. Scotty was short stacked.
Well, we'll have a look at
You'd have a look at the odds.
bit of raising later on.
Mm.
Do you remember?
Well, yes. I still feel terrible about that, but let's have a look at it.
10 jack suited, I'm raising again. That's my consecutive hand thing again. It's exactly the same as the last time, actually. Remember last time when I had 8-9 suited the second time?
But it's a minimum raise here, Caspar. What's
It
reasoning
is. That's
there?
probably just pressing the wrong button.
Don't try and read Caspar. It's impossible.
Well, I'm using not a second hand. I'm using my ineptitude to randomise my play, which is highly effective. The problem with such a fast structure, Tom, is that it does. I observed this, a couple of weeks ago. I said, people are putting too many minimum raises in, and I said, I know why. It's because we're scared of once you put 3 times the big blind in, you're going to feel pot committed because it's a third of your stack, and I think it's a problem. But I don't know what to do about it. It's just the situation.
So your raise there was not so much a
way.
minimum raise, it was a function of your stack raise to avoid you being pot committed.
Yeah.
Well, here are the 9s, Caspar. Here they are.
Oh, look at that!
Oh, look, barrel's quite short stacked. That does change things.
But he doesn't have 10s.
Now, I rudely interrupted you here, but what was your thinking?
Well, my thinking was just, do I want to risk my tournament on the 9s? Because if I play this, I'm going to be putting in, 700 of my stack altogether. And if someone's raised me, and it's Steve, and I've said at the beginning of this tournament he's solid, don't want to play back at him. And then you started yabbering away in my ear, and I panicked a bit and I folded. And the reason I say that is because it wasn't axiomatic. I may well have stuck my tournament on 9s, for the reason that these are fast tournaments, and I'm not sure how much decision you actually have. But thank you.
You're welcome. Lucky ran, following the Caspar Berry patented under the gun minimum raise when the blinds are so big, leaving himself room to get away from it. Trouble with that raise, I mean, now I think about it, is that although the logic is fine there, it's probably not what you're going to do with kings, aces, queens, and so on, because of the danger of letting someone in cheap. And because of that, then it might be easy to, for someone who's got the guts to raise you on nothing, it's easy to read.
True.
Of course, he won't be doing that for that reason next time. He'll have changed his strategy.
I will have. Well, you have to, don't you? You have to in this Beat the Presenter thing. I'm quite aware of what I'm saying here as well. I'll watch it back tomorrow afternoon and make sure that
you change your strategy completely.
4 jacks.
Woo! Holy moly.
That smacks of 4 jacks.
Who said that?
Me just now.
History in the making here tonight. 4 jacks, we had a 6-card straight flush earlier.
4 jacks less historic.
True, but still classic.
Classic history.
And Scotty gets out of it. Still 7-handed. Caspar Berry sitting there with 5 big blinds or so, 6 big blinds.
A bit more, yeah. Well, it's scary, definitely. So, for that reason, I don't like ace-10, but I've got to raise with it, which I do.
Now, Caspar, are you pot committed here?
I really think I am if it comes from the blinds. If it comes from a player that doesn't have to, like Charwell, then probably not.
Right.
But I think if the re-raise comes from the blinds, then yeah.
So you need a good reason to think you're well beat to fold.
Yeah.
And it's difficult here because, as you say, the sort of raise you want to make that makes sense in terms of pre-flop play commits you anyway. So then it looks like, well, I might as well go all in. But then you say to yourself, well, is this the sort of hand that I really want to go all in with? And you say, no, it's not. And so you end up folding it. But that's crazy because maybe you've got the best hand there. So it's tricky. It becomes very crude.
Hence crazy poker.
Hence crazy poker. There you go.
Scotty pushes in with his kings, as of course he should, and making jam has a 140 call for a pot of 540, so worth making it, even with rubbish like that. But, not the worst thing in the world not to, because of this whole issue of chip preservation. This chip preservation issue I've been talking about.
Yeah, it's a funny one, that. I mean, he's almost certainly getting pot odds there. I mean, on average, he's definitely getting pot odds with 7-4, so he should call. But if the extra 140 in his stack significantly increases the amount of fold equity he can get, i.e. significantly increases his chance of persuading people to put their hands down, then it's worth more in his stack.
Mm-hmm. I can't argue with you.
And Scotty's double through again.
Well, just shows you what a couple of double throughs will do.
Now.
Well, fortunately, again, decision's taken away from me. Otherwise, I may well have had a pop at it.
At Balrog's big blind. I think I do too, Caspar, because there's a chance he'll fold. Not much chance, but a chance.
Yeah, well, no, he doesn't. He calls here, actually. So he would definitely have called me. If he's going to call a first position raise, he'll have called a button raise. But I wonder, you know, he called with that particular hand. I wonder whether he would have called with anything.
Well, I mean, it is a big call against an under-the-gun raise. Maybe he's hoping he's got live suited cards, but yeah, I think he probably would have called with anything.
So that's hurt Scotty, but not irreparably. I've got suited connectors. Wizard raises it up. Thank you, the wizard. Not the first time you saved me tonight. And the point is, what's interesting about this is that luck takes many forms in poker, doesn't it? And sometimes your luck in poker can be not having a playable opportunity because it would have got you into trouble. You know? And this particular evening, my luck took the form of a buffoon shouting in my ear.
What, on the talkback?
No, you.
Oh, thank you very much.
And
you see, you think it's luck, Caspar, but you know how little you know about buffoonery.
I know you had a strategy. No, so you know it's interesting. I was on a coin flip there about whether to push with the nines, and that would have taken me out second. So would Sir Alex Ferguson be a sir if Teddy Sheringham hadn't booted the ball into the back of a net in 3 minutes?
Tricky one.
But these are the things that change lives. Now, I'm not saying that me folding the nines there has changed my life, but who knows?
It's the butterfly effect, Caspar, you know?
It is. It's all chaos theory.
It could cause you to leave the studio just slightly later than you would have as you reflect on it and bump into Nicole Kidman.
That's the second time you've mentioned her tonight. Now, I know that's not for the viewers because the first time was off air, but is there something you're not telling me?
What about me and Nicole?
Yeah.
Are you jealous? Are you controlling?
I actually couldn't be less jealous. Now, that was an interesting moment there because I avoided the big blind, which may sound like a silly little thing, but that is a third of my stack as a result of someone getting knocked out. And again, that's a little piece of luck that contributes to it. So I feel like I've played relatively solid here in this tournament. I think I've picked my spots and I'm happy with my play, but all these little things add up. The point is, I'm not going to exonerate myself because that's what happens when you win a tournament. You get a little bit of luck. Right, what do I do here, Tom? You know how much I hate ducks.
I think I move. Yeah, I move too, yeah. I mean, the Charwell can fold. He doesn't, but he can fold.
I mean, I hate ducks. Hate them. Absolutely hate them. But again, at this stage...
This stage...
At this stage, what else are you going to do?
It's time to make a full house.
You can't pass up those opportunities. But poor old Charwell gets a flush and still taken out.
You're absolutely right to push there, in my opinion, Caspar. And I also hate it as I push.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to know that we have, what's the word, synergy, agreement.
So you're at the bubble now, Caspar.
Oh, God.
And you've got the chips.
I have, yeah. The bubble. 4 jack. Is this folded to me? think this might be folded to me. No, lock around surely. No, no. Yeah. So that's nice. And I think people thought that there were other people giving me respect, but now you see the hands. I mean, you see the hands in front of you. People weren't giving me respect, really. Not really. They just didn't have anything. Wizard has a nice situation here. I think he plays this rather well, actually.
Do you? I don't agree.
Well,
Not when Barrog's only got 1,400 chips.
yeah. I just think for mixing it up purposes. I mean, otherwise we turn into automatons, don't we?
I think here, with up against someone who's got 4 big blinds, no, I push.
No. Okay. Again, though, I just wonder if you push and everyone else pushes, where's your edge?
Well, this is something that's discussed much, and in fact there's stuff on it on the forum.
There is.
Under our sit and goes dead, but I think the logical conclusion is it must be at the start of the tournament. But Dr. Dean thinks otherwise, and he thinks there's, broadly speaking, an unbeatable, well, I think he's saying there's an unbeatable strategy early on.
Well, and I've got a lot of time for Dr. Steve's post, but the whole point about that is there's no such thing as an unbeatable strategy once everyone adopts it.
True. All right. There are more and less exploitable strategies, and the strategy he advocates is indeed difficult to exploit.
But then, so what, sit and go actually just becomes literally a crapshoot in every case, because everyone has, the luck has been completely removed and ironed out.
No, I don't think that's possible. Just to echo what you said, yourself there, I think you can't do that, because whatever strategies there are always exploitable. But it just seems to be a truism that if there's more skill in poker when the blinds are small, then it's as good as at the beginning. Yes, Caspar.
Okay, Tom, so there's been a raise on the button. I don't know what he's got. I've got a playable stack underneath me, an 8-10. What do you do? We'll see what I do in just a minute. What do you do? No, I fold. And I think long and hard about it, and he shows his cards. The cheeky git. And I congratulate him. I think long and hard about it. I'm okay. I'm okay with that fold. Yeah?
The fold just there, or the one?
Yeah, the 8-10.
Now you're in trouble. But you've got past the bubble, so you're in the lap of the gods now. You know it, we know it.
Blinds are high. I've got just under 2 big blinds left in my stack. There's the aces, pushing against Wizard, and I think Wizard folds this. Yes, he does. Button moves, and now I'm in the big blind, and basically I've got a call. I'm pot committed, but that's what you've got to do. That's the right thing to do.
Oh,
and what's interesting here is Wizard hesitates, and do you know what? After this hesitation, I actually know that I'm best. Because it's such a no-brainer move. The only reason for Wizard to hesitate there is to think to himself, oh, God, I really don't want to do it with this hand. So,
and why did he? Because he knows he's going to call. Why does Wizard bet at you there? I mean, you're going to call with anything.
Yeah.
Seems a poor bet to me.
Now, Wizard makes a big bet.
Tricky.
And I can get away from this.
You don't think hard about it? You think king, ace, possibilities?
No,
too
yeah,
high?
I actually don't think about that twice. No, I don't need to be calling there. Look, I've got 1,800 in chips now. Now, not brilliant, but at least I've got a decision or two, and I've got manoeuvrability. I've got enough actually to make small blinds put down and that sort of thing.
Does that mean you'd put down king jack as well?
In that situation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah.
$1,000 in the pot. Caspar can fold here if he's raised, but
This is an interesting hand, actually. So I just check.
ooh, bottom pair.
And he makes a mistake here, Wizard. And that's the mistake. Because I'm over the moon with that. Over the moon with that situation.
And tell us why.
Because that's just not the bet of someone who's hit his flop. It's a check or an all-in from someone who's hit his flop. That's not it.
Do you think he discovered too late that he committed himself to the pot with his cheap bluff?
Sorry, my head's swirling.
Oh, that's right. You just doubled through.
Yeah.
Chip leads suddenly.
Yes, and that's the ridiculousness that it can all change. Now, here I'm up against one opponent, and I make a mistake because I think that he can put it down. And it's such a bad hand, Queen 3, that he obviously wouldn't have put anything down there, actually. He would have called with anything. And there I am. That's my biggest luck in the tournament. My biggest luck in the tournament was to hit that 6. That's my biggest luck in the tournament.
But it's worth pointing out there that you are about 44% against Queen 3 suited.
Sure. No, it's not the worst outdraw in the world by any means, but that's my nice moment.
And here it is.
And I got 6-4 again, and I think to myself, this is a lucky hand.
I'm sure you don't think that for 1 minute, Caspar.
I can't remember what I do. I just make it up.
You reach for the chewits. No, the breadsticks.
And Wizard wins that one. He lives to fight another day. And good for him.
Well, he's going to have to push.
Yeah, and I fold.
Now that's interesting because you're getting 4-1 for a call there.
Yeah. But you know what? I've still got half the chips in play, and I fancy that I've still got a bit of outplay ability.
That's very interesting. I call.
Do you?
I mean, sure, you've got a bit of playability if you fold, but the odds are too good for me. I embrace the luck at that point, or the...
No, that's fair enough. I don't hold that 100% at all. There, do it again. It would have been completely different if I'd had less than half the chips.
Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah. And you've put in that the minimum raise there,
Yeah,
Caspar?
I make a minimum raise bet there, and because basically what are my options? I'm not going to call in that situation. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give him the chance to get away from it on the flop. And so it's a question between doing that and all in. And I just made a calculation that he might come over the top of me. It's, you know, it's a nothing distinction, but it just happened to work out.
And that's it, Caspar.
2 for 2.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much indeed.
Sterling performance.
Thank you.
Terrific stuff. Oh, let's have a look at a few stats. I thought we were going to get a chip movement graph.
We love
there should be one with a little head of you running along the graph. Boings at the end.
Look there, it's a very passive table. You know, no one's raising into double figures.
Yeah.
Third, and look how few I've called there. Very, very few. And that is very typical of my... Thank you.
Well done, Caspar. Terrific stuff. Thank you for your comments on your play there. Of course, Caspar will be changing his game completely starting off now. So
no, I won't. But you know, it's just interesting. You do have to remember a couple of things that you said. I mean, I've got a nightmare that by 3 or 4 games in, we're not going to be able to do anything because we've said exactly what we do. It's
a difficult one. I mean, on the one hand, we've been saying it for the last year, basically.
It's true, but
they don't listen quite the same way, do they? Yeah. Let's have a quick look at an email before we go back and see if we can get hold of Paul again on the line. We've got one here from... here it comes. Oh, dear. Email from Fatman. A quick question, if I may. Do you have any easy ways of working out pot odds versus card odds? I seem to have trouble. Don't know what to say, really, Caspar. I mean, you know what the terms mean. Card odds means basically the probability of making your hand. So if you've got a flush draw, it's 4-1 on the next card. Pot odds, you calculate the size of the pot compared to what you're having to put into it. So those are your odds. And if the pot odds are longer than your card odds, then in you go. Fairly clear. Well, anything to add there, Caspar?
Yeah, he says he's read Theory of Poker and the Super System, and I agree that I don't think either of those books set it out clearly. Perhaps one that I'm writing will.
Oh, I think Theory of Poker does a good job.
We'll talk about it after break.
It's time for our chat with Mr. Paul Chung, so hopefully we've got him on the line. Hi, Paul. How many people left in the tournament?
Well, it's a cash game actually, so there's just four of us all together.
Don't you know the difference yet, Tom?
I do know.
We literally explain it every night.
All right, Caspar. All right. And so you're sitting out of a 4-player cash game, so you really are getting blinded away. They shouldn't blind you when you're in a cash game. You should be able to take a powder break.
Well, I've got. I'll just put it as my little table rake.
What a gentleman. Paul, any news from the journalistic end of poker on this strongly rumoured $60 million prize game for which Phil Ivey is the last person I heard might have well put his name up? A $10 million from each player entering it, 6-player table. Any news at your end?
I mean, I think I tell you the most interesting thing about that tournament, apart from the obviously massive sums which are taking place, is the fact that most of the pros I've talked to don't think it's going to happen.
That's interesting. Because of the bankroll?
Well, just because they don't think that the company they're putting it on could possibly make any profit from that sort of buy-in. They don't understand why you'd even want to. They think it's a bit vulgar. Like Daniel Negrani was particularly vocal about it.
Now, hang on a second, guys. Time out. I'm going to represent the views of people who know nothing about what we're talking about here. So
okay, do that.
Just what is this, Paul? In essence, this $60 million tournament. What is it?
It's a 600 tournament where basically you have to pay $10 million to play, and
Each
the winner
player.
takes it all.
Right.
And it's meant to be happening in June in the Crown Casino in Melbourne.
And who on earth is signing up? So we're saying Phil Ivey. People are backing
Phil Ivey's definitely signing up, and Lederer's, his name's been bandied around, but I haven't been given it. We haven't got any definites yet, apart from Ivey.
Now, I mean, none of these guys individually can afford to, I'm not saying they haven't got 10 million quid in their bank account somewhere, but they can't afford to stake 10 million on one tournament. So they must all be backed, several people having a piece of them.
Yeah, definitely.
And what's Daniel Negrani saying about it? What's his thoughts and feelings?
He's just not sure that, that it's just any value to, any player or any organisation to get involved with it. I mean, I can kind of see where he comes from, because, what dollar at the Bellagio, and then after that, what is there? There's no particular need to jump to that much, I don't think. Well, that's what he says anyway.
Let's try $1 million first of all.
Yeah.
And even that's fairly extreme.
Yeah.
It's interesting that the question of vulgarity should be brought up, because, I mean, poker is not known as the most sophisticated activity known to man. It's not like equestrianism. But I wouldn't have thought that vulgarity was really a worry for the sponsors, and presumably the people who are looking to make money off this. If they can top a previous game, which they have in spades here, I should have thought anyone putting on that game, if they could get 6 runners, would be laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah, but then where does it... I mean, so does that mean that it suddenly becomes more prestigious than the World Series just because there's more money? I mean, the World Series was always the holy grail because, the amount of money you can win was so massive. But now, this is completely blown out of the water. Well, if it takes place, you know what I mean? So,
I wonder
what does the next tournament have to do to top that? 100 million, 200 million?
Winner takes $1 billion.
I think what we lose sight of here is the question of poker skill and what determines how skillful the tournament is, and therefore how classy it is, is the blind structure. You think for $10 million entry, you'd get, I mean, how many big blinds would you start with? 1,000 with 90-minute...
A couple of weeks of play.
A couple of weeks of play is what you want, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the problem, because you're going to get a situation where, because it's it's a TV-driven event, it's going to last like 3 hours. It could be a crapshoot.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Do you know the fascinating thing is, of course, the World Series, to start it off, there was no big one. When Johnny Moss won the first 2 World Series, he was voted for by the rest of the players.
Exactly.
That's actually the fairest way to understand who's the best poker player, because it's who's the best player, not who happens to receive the best cards for this 1-day, 2-day, or 4-day period.
Yeah.
That's how you know that Johnny Moss was the best player in the room, because they all said he was.
Exactly.
And they were the best people to know.
What about your own thoughts as to who's the best player? Do you have any thoughts yourself, guys?
We're going to have to debate that.
We're going to have to debate it because we've run out of time, unfortunately. So it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and best of luck at the Sportsman.
Thanks, guys.
And thanks for your thoughts on the subject of poker and forthcoming tournaments.
And do come again soon, Paul.
Good
Bye
night,
for now,
guys.
Paul.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Welcome back to Poker Night Live. We've still got lots more poker action for you. We've got the denouement of our multi-table tourney. But before we go and see what we've got in the poker larder, let's have a look at a few emails. Got one here from Steve saying, "Hi guys, I heard that you should always raise into the big blind in heads up with any 2-hole cards. Is that true? Love the show. Great job as always. Should you always raise into the big blind when you're playing heads up with any 2-hole cards?" Well, what do you think, Caspar?
No, but you should be a lot more aggressive than you are normally. We think that you should be raising about 40% of the time, don't we? Is it 40%?
Well, it depends on
70%. I said it's 40%.
size of your raise.
Yeah?
But 40% from the small blind. I'll raise more than that, but I'll probably raise smaller.
And then you're going to call the remaining times, or will you fold sometimes?
No, I'll always put in some folding simply because it increases the variability of my play.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I've answered it.
But you should never do anything all the time in poker, ever. At least certainly if you're still going to have chips afterwards.
Not even win.
Not even win, no, because it just gets annoying. But if you're going to be left with chips, then if you do anything always, then you're predictable. So you should mix it up a bit. If it involves using the second hand of your watch, so be it. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, tune in more early in the future. We've got one here from Trev. Trev says, "Hi Tom and Cass, when you announced that Devilfish was coming on, I thought, oh no, not that junked up arrogant toad. Good Lord, what has Devilfish ever done to you? But how wrong can one be? To me, he came across as an intelligent, charming and centred human being. I will go as far as to say a really nice bloke. Congratulations to Dave for showing that you can't judge a book by its cover. I watched the interview again today and I'm sure that my poker will improve by taking on board the information that he parted. Well done to you, Caspar, for extracting the kind of information that we as viewers need to know. Well done for extracting stuff from the Devilfish."
Thank you.
Thank you, Caspar.
A sort of poison. Isn't that what devilfishes excrete?
Did you suck it out of him?
No.
It just dripped from his tongue. Caspar collected it in a bowl. In case you're wondering, I'm stone cold sober and definitely not a suck. Anyway, he's not a. But believe that credit is due where credit is earned. PNL, Poker Zone, and all the unsung heroes related to the show, well done. Hope the big interviews continue. May I suggest you get the lucky Phil Ivey on next? Well, Phil Ivey, if you are watching, come and defend the claim of Trevor Payne that you are just a lucky so-and-so. Let's have a look at one more. Rob says, when Doyle won in 77, Gary Bones Burland had 8-5, which I think was suited in hearts. Well, there you go, 10 deuce.
No one remembers the people that came second, do they? Unless it was TJ.
Who did you beat in that sit and go? Who was second? No looking.
I don't care.
No one remembers the people coming second unless it's TJ. Thanks for that, Rob. Thanks, Trev. We're going to take ourselves now down to the poker. It's a cash game, $25.50. Cents, not dollars. Sophie Viney, we see her quite a lot. Is Sophie Viney someone famous? She's not a porn star or something, is she?
Ooh, is she?
Well, she might be. I always make these faux pas.
What, not knowing your porn stars? I'm not sure that's a faux pas, Tom.
Well, in this day and age it is. You know, it shows I'm not cosmopolitan.
Interesting.
Snap it on the up, as far as we know.
Excuse me.
And Swan Lee also doing well. I'm trying to remember who was in seat 2 and was chipped up, but I can't remember his name.
Chipped up on goofballs?
Don't know about goofballs, but definitely chips. Now snap it. 2 or fold. I bet he doesn't call. I knew he wouldn't call. 2 it is. Takes it down. Do you ever fold ace-10 there, snap it? In the cut-off, folded round to you, ace-10 off. Do you ever fold it? Or, put it this way, against a typical field behind you, of course, if you've got a nutter in the blinds, you're probably going to have to let it go. But
Do you ever fold it against 3 standard players? Let's have a look at a few stats, see what they tell us. Oh, hang on, we've got a set here for Snap It. Let's hold our horses. Worked out very nicely for him. He bet it before it came.
It's going to be hard to get it to pay off, though, isn't it?
I'm very glad he got the bet on the flop there. Here they come. Now, Snap It and Golf Mad Chef and Swan Lee have been there a long time, so their stats are much more reliable. And Snap It there, calling about twice for every time he raises, or a bit more than that. Golf Mad Chef rarely raising, and Swan Lee in a similar sort of ratio to Snap It. Slightly more raising.
But playing twice as many hands within that ratio.
Yeah.
What do you think your ratio is, Tom?
In Texas Hold'em cash games, it's near Swan Mad Chef's. So more raising, sorry, more calling than raising, probably slightly more raising. But it varies around. It varies a lot depending on the game I'm in. But yeah, more calling than raising, but certainly not more than twice as many calls as raises.
Okay.
What about yours? You don't know. Oh, you play limit, of course, in cash, so it's different. And in tournaments, it's difficult to say because it changes so much.
Last time I played cash, mate, the evenings were very long. Sorry, the days were very long. I haven't played for ages.
Oh.
Cash, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Sit and goes. That's where it's at.
Is it?
For me, right now.
Okay. Is it because we've been talking about them a lot?
Yeah, do you know what? I think you've put me off them. You've put me off cash games.
And how?
You banged on about how pointless they were, and I sort of saw the light.
Cash games?
No, not cash games. Limit games.
Oh, I'm sorry, Caspar. Do you know what? That's ironic because I was thinking about taking off 3 weeks out of no limit poker and just playing limit.
Really?
Yeah, I was.
I think you'd hate it.
Why? You think I'm an action junkie? Is that a covert insult?
You're the one that's always banged on about how boring it is.
Limit?
Yeah.
Only to rile you. I've got nothing against limit.
I don't agree with that. I think secretly you think it's a bit boring. Played by losers.
No, I don't think. Caspar, it's terrible. And I didn't know all this time that you were really quite upset by. Well, I only did it because that's the popular perception of limit poker.
Popular perception by some people in this country. I mean, bear in mind in America it was the game that was played for years and years and years.
But that was because in America for years and years, well, in Britain for years and years, you couldn't drink while you were playing poker. So it was all right to play no limit. But in a casino where people are drunk and carrying guns, you don't want them losing all their money in one go. That's why they played limit.
You've got to tell them you're joking.
I'm joking.
Limit was created by casinos because they didn't want people losing all their money in one go because they wanted the rake the drop to continue for as long as possible. Therefore, playing limit just eked out people's money for as long as possible and maximised their income.
Look, it only takes one madman who gets outdrawn with his eights, with a gun and like a lot of tequila inside him, for an awful lot of furniture to get smashed up.
This has never happened except in your mind.
The rake is tiny compared to bodies everywhere. Believe me, if they change the gun laws in Britain, then no limit will go to limit overnight. We've got a new what's in the hole question, guys, while you ponder the merits of limit and no limit. I'm absolutely gagging with excitement at the possibility that this is not going to be a massive hand on the river.
Pafan.
Well, it was Frantic who emailed us earlier.
Well, he's going to have to outdraw aces, look. Mach 1's bullets are travelling at the speed of sound. Pafan. What can you tell about him there, Tom?
He's not ahead.
He's left $4.67 in the hole. What can you tell from that?
Hang on, let me just look it up. He's going to outdraw Mac, which is going to be a remarkable feat.
he got a 10? Has he got a... Ooh, well, look.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Ooh.
What's in the hole, folks? Text hole, not P&L. Completely ignore that. Text hole, but the number was correct. The number was correct.
What was the number?
I think it was 62211, wasn't it?
Always the same.
But it's whole. We do throw the odd deliberate mistake.
Curveball.
Ourselves included. Multi-table tourney time now. We know you've been waiting for it. Here it comes. Quick update. We've got 11 players left. And there he is, Gilberto. I thought he'd be on the up. He's still in there. And Little Bully is our big stack. So 2 tables left, 11 players. Meg White all in for, if I get that right, 730 chips. Yes, well, he's currently ahead. And the departure of the jack means that he stays ahead and doubles through, but in terrible trouble, or trebles through, I should say. Terrible trouble. Let's have a look at our other table. Wow, some short stacks. Look at Eraser, he's got less than the big blind. It's almost as though they're trying to make it to the final table. There's a kind of fame bubble.
Well, he's not, Tom. Look at that. He's decided to push all in with Queen 4. And he knows what he... Oh, sorry, Queen 6. I'm going mad.
Nine players left now. One off the final.
A sort of final table bubble, if not a money bubble.
That's right. It's the fame bubble.
I'm just enjoying saying the word bubble.
It's a great word.
It's brilliant. I really love it. I wish we could do it more on Pokemon Live, really.
Bubble, bubble, bubble.
Oh, we are.
Looking like check, check, unless Abasak has got a read on his opponent there. And there is the flush draw for Poker Rich. Furthermore, the jack pairing up is good for him because it means that Abasak is less likely to have called a card. It's gone check, check. Abasak doesn't want to bluff the river. Well, there's those nines, Caspar. You brilliantly folded.
Well, I've been a bit unfair to you, Tom. To be honest with you, I didn't give you any grief. You'll back me up on that. But I did let you suffer a bit too much because the point is, Steve was going to call. If I'd raised whatever I'd done, Steve was going to call. All the money was going to go in. Do you know what I mean? So it didn't matter what I did. It was effectively like calling an all in. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he actually wrote in the chat box that he was going to call. So that was the premise there. I didn't have any additional equity to folding them. And I don't think, especially not after you'd said, the marginal situation on air. So that was the problem with it, really. It wasn't you. That was the situation.
So the fold was correct in your opinion, from what you heard?
No, I'm not really saying that. I'm still sort of playing it over in my mind. To be honest, it obviously was as it transpired. I think it probably was for that reason.
Interestingly, it was basically the same situation we saw earlier in a sit and go where someone was sitting there with a pair of nines and he knew that there was no fold equity. If he went for it, he was going to get called.
And what did we say then?
Well, I said he should fold.
Right.
Although I think he was probably not up against a better hand, certainly not a significantly better hand. Interesting. Let's have a look at an email then. We've got one here from Hugh, Dead Spiders, who says, "Hi guys, quick question on Caspar's move of bluffing a hand immediately after he's won the previous one. He says, is this dependent on the quality of your opponents? I don't mean in their likelihood ability to put a hand down, but perhaps more their interpretation of your actions and what the second hand's move means. I've actually been finding the opposite to be true. Often I'll win a hand, then find the next hand I'm in a good situation to steal, but seem to get less respect than I would expect. However, this might be because I'm up against weaker, lower stakes players. It may be that weaker players infer the second one to be a bluff, while stronger players infer it to be a hand. Also, do you think it matters whether you show down a previous hand, assuming it was strong? Perhaps some players are reluctant to believe you could get 2 good hands in a row.
It's very interesting. I don't disagree with what you're saying, Hugh, at all. Basically, what we're saying is it's situation dependent. Let me tell you something. First of all, I wouldn't have done it a third time. Categorically, no, not at all. Without the goods. And if you get a pair of aces on the third time, well, that's fantastic. That's Christmas. The second thing to say is that I remember very distinctly being in tournaments in Vegas with very, very tough, rocky players who did not like use in their big blind. They didn't like it at all because they were rocks, because they knew that they were susceptible to it. And I remember I have one just vivid recollection of I had something like ace jack, and I raised with it, and I got it taken down, and I had something like another good hand like ace king, and I raised with it, and they folded to me. And the third hand I had ace queen, and it was specifically ace queen, and I raised with it. And the guy, he just did something with his body language, and he came over the top of me, and people were muttering because I was like this, you know, little English kid there raising 3 hands in a row. And I remember thinking, I don't think he's got anything. I think they're just really annoyed that I'm raising, but I don't have a call. I don't have a call. It's just a poxy ace queen. I'm going to have to let it go. And that had a big effect on me, actually. It kind of like set me back in poker. Sometimes, every now and again, I mean, I remember it vividly. I was sitting in the Sahara. I can tell you exactly what seat I was sitting in. And sometimes moments like that release that bit of emotion, imprints that memory in your brain, and will affect the way that you play after that. The specific thing here is that actually, when I play the second time, I'm working on the basis that they see me as a solid player, not this little kid from England, and that they'll figure, well, the first one may have been a bluff or not, but he wouldn't do it a second time. Yeah, so that's why I definitely wouldn't do it if I've already shown the first one to be a good hand. Okay, I don't want them to know what the first one's going to be, but I want them to think that the second time he definitely wouldn't bluff. So I feel confident in that. No way I'd do it a third time. And in that, it's a bit like the old which hands the coin in that Herbert Yardley talks about in Education of a Poker Player, in that you're absolutely right. It does change depending the further up the limits you go or the further down that you go. What I mean by that is, if you ask a 4-year-old which hands the coin, it's, let's say you do it and they guess the hand, right? If you ask a 4-year-old, then they'll say the same hand, okay? If you ask a 6-year-old, then they'll guess that you've swapped it, and they'll choose a different hand. If you ask an 8-year-old, they'll guess that you'll guess that they guessed that you'd swap it. And so they choose the same hand again. So equating your intelligence on the same level of that of your players is very, very important. By the way, that's not to say that the players that we play with in these sit and goes aren't good. They're very good. In fact, it's because I'm reckoning that they're good that I feel that that move will work. And of course, can I just say one final thing, Tom?
Yep.
Now I've said this,
You'll have to change the hand you got the stone in.
Yep.
I think our sit-and-go players are actually so good you could put it off a third time.
do you think?
I think that they might well think, well, you know, he could have been stealing the first time, and the second time he thought, well, they might well let me take this one because it's got to be a hand this time.
Yeah.
And then they think, well, the third time, yeah, maybe he's got it this time.
Thanks for blowing my strategy for the next time I played in the sit and go.
No, you've just got to steal 3 times in a row and then pull off a truly amazing steal on the 4th.
Okay.
But I think you might have got mugged, actually, in the Sahara. It wouldn't... Sorry, not mugged. I think you might have made the right decision. Quite the opposite. When the guy muttered and came over the top of you, I think, Caspar, this is my suspicion. I don't know who
Mike
it was.
Carrow. You're basing a Mike Carrow move there. That he's muttered specifically to make me think that he's peed off with me.
Yeah, I think he's a rock. Rocks don't change their spots, to
Yeah.
mix your metaphors. And he's going to make that move. If he's a rock, he doesn't go on tilt. He doesn't say, oh, this has jumped up X Spiker Grove Act 2 is trying to nick my blinds.
They didn't know that. They don't get it out there.
They know lots more than you might expect, Caspar.
Well,
They've probably done
they don't know
exceptionally. Well, I mean, I'm just saying it's probably why he was
I'm
making.
just saying they
Okay,
don't
fine.
know.
But I'm saying, all right, he comes over the top. He's probably going to do it on the basis of his cards, but he thinks if he can do a bit of acting, as you say, the Mike Cairo way, and pretend he's naffed off, that you might call him. I reckon he had the goods. I reckon you made a great fold.
Thank you, Tom.
Well done.
Thank you. 6 years ago now.
6 years ago, but of course, you know, great poker players. Remember these anecdotes. Time now for our multi-table tourney final. Here it is. Here it is. Who do you fancy, Caspar? I'm on the table.
Well, yeah, I was just thinking. I met a girlfriend of mine in the Sahara, a girl called Jennifer who's a Vietnamese blackjack dealer. He's a bit of a gambling addict, to be honest with you. Like a lot of people in Vegas, once you scratch the skin of the surface of that town, flesh is not a pretty place. Kind of magnet for people with addictions and just general life problems. But I had a lot of fun there, so...
What was her name?
Jennifer. Probably shouldn't say her second name.
No.
Very pretty. My first Oriental girlfriend. First of many. Her to blame, though. Her to blame for starting it all.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. Set for little Buffy. Do you think that's Buffy Begood's daughter?
Could be. Could well be. Except that it's Little Bully.
Do you think it's less likely they're related now?
Well, the probabilities were so tiny in the first place
Really?
that it being only half as likely is still has no effect.
You're right again.
It's funny though, probability, because if I bought a lottery ticket, now I don't play the national lottery.
The natural lottery.
I play the
Is
natural
that like
lottery.
betting on the wind and the trees?
I play a pagan variety. I don't play it, as you might expect, because I hate the idea of giving money to charity. But the other day I found a ticket on the stairs, and I became obsessed with this ticket, because for some reason it seemed more serendipitous, which is a nice word, and I'll look for any reason to use it, although a terrible film, to have found a lottery ticket. You know, it seems just more likely, subjectively, that I'm going to win with that than if I just buy one. So I logged on and had a look to see if I'd won, and I already pored over the moral dilemma of what I'd do with it if it had been a winning ticket. You know.
In
And
one
I
of the
decided-
training sessions I do, I get a National Lottery scratch card. I get 2 scratch cards, in fact, right?
Oh yeah.
And I don't scratch them during the actual training session, so at the end of it, one of my colleagues came through. She'd just done a training session in the other room, and I said, "Do you want one of these scratch cards?" She said, "You choose." She took it, and as she took it, I just suddenly got this terrible feeling that I'd given away this £20,000 winner that had been given to me. I've no reason to give it away, and I gave it to her. And we sat down and we laughed, and I said, "Now, if you've got the winner, will you split it with me?" And she said, "Yes, definitely." I said, "You sure, even if it's 100,000? She said, yes, I'll split it with you." I thought, isn't that weird that in that moment she picked whether, you know, her life was going to change or not? Now, as it happened, it didn't. But she did win £2.
So you got a quid?
No, I haven't seen it, actually. Karen, if you're watching, you owe me £1.
Do you think we're disposed to these kind of moments of feeling that some luck's going to go away, or whether we're just programmed from things like the movie Serendipity and all sorts of other, Greek tragedies? You know, if something
I was
bad
going to say, they're
happen,
probably
it does happen.
more effective.
Well, yeah, they're probably stronger drama.
Probably play a bigger part in the collective unconscious. Do you know what I think, Tom? I think let's rope this discussion around to something relevant. So we see BMMA bust out, but Little Bully making a big stack. Look at that. That's a really unassailable lead.
Never say that.
No, it's not unassailable.
That's the Greek tragedy sort of approach.
It is.
It's like saying, "I'll never ever sleep with my mum and kill my father." You know it's going to happen.
I've got to be honest with you, mate. I'm fairly confident.
Don't say it, Caspar.
Well, I like to think it's something of a certainty.
Well,
Well.
I would never say that. I would never
Anyway,
say that.
the point that I'm making is what came through in the discussion with Devilfish yesterday is that people do think in terms of fortune. You know, Devilfish described 3 or 4 players yesterday as lucky players. And who am I to argue? I mean, he sits down and plays with them. Now, I know in my worldview, you're not lucky or unlucky, you just have had some good luck or have had some bad luck. But the point that I'm making is you need to take that perception into account when you play with them. And indeed, Dave did say just that. You know, when he's playing heads up, he wants the other player to think that he's lucky, that the deck is smashing him over the head, or that he's certainly being lucky right then. And the whole point of that is to then create a much less rational perception that he's going to continue to be lucky throughout the course of that game. So I guess what I'm saying is, whilst you need to try and cultivate a very rational mindset, I think it's integral to our strategy to understand that human beings don't have that naturally.
You see, this raises a very interesting point here, Caspar, because if the devilfish is playing me heads up...
Athletes bust. Look, they're dropping like flies.
Good Lord. Well, never mind. He got $233.
Oh, well done.
But then, of course, he may have been put into the tournament by a whole consortium of other players. He may not get much of that back. If a devilfish is playing me heads up, and I certainly hope by this stage that I'm in the late stages of a multi-table tourney and I'm already rich, because I'm not expecting to win any more, then he's going to have a better job against me if he persuades me not that he's lucky, because I don't believe in luck,
No.
but that he's outplaying me. So it should be the other way around. For the devilfish to exploit my weaknesses, he should be showing me some of his bluffs, because then I'll lose confidence in my ability to play well.
You're wrong.
Ah, okay.
Tell you why.
Nice of you to be candid.
Because if you believe that he's outplaying you, it is in your interests to become more aggressive. Because according to tournament play for advanced players, you should only take risks proportionate to your expectation in that tournament. In other words, if you were playing a player who you thought had you banged to rights, you'd be correct to call with a flush draw, for example, as Negreanu does against, I forget the name of the...
Someone who thinks is better than him.
Yeah, it's Negreanu's early mentor, in fact. It's the Italian-American guy, who I forget.
Rocky.
It's not Rocky, no. It's the other one, The Godfather.
Oh.
And Devilfish doesn't want you to do that. Doesn't want you to start panicking and start playing wildly. Wants to contain you. And that's precisely why it's better for him that you don't think that he's beating you up and playing better than you. You might give him respect. You might shake his hand more heartily at the end of the tournament. He doesn't want that. He wants your money.
I don't know about that, Caspar. I mean, I know the devilfish is better than me anyway, so that option is always available to me.
Mm-hmm.
The minimise your long-term chance of losing by maximising the short-term variance, shove it all in.
Mm-hmm.
But on a good day, I might want to give devilfish a spin for his money. I might decide I'm enjoying this, I'll play against him.
Good for you.
But if I get my confidence rattled, I think I'm going to make mistakes. Because when you're in the zone and you're playing and you seem to be making right decisions, you can play very well heads up. But when if you get outplayed several times,
of course,
you lose your ability to think clearly, and then you're dead in the water.
Can I say one thing? You're right. I've got the devilfish on my side, who you've already considered as a better player than you. Ergo, I must be right.
Well, this is true.
But what I would say is this, you know how when you look at a player and you're asking yourself how good he is, it's almost like the harmony, the sense in which they're in harmony with their overall luck. People look good when they are getting the cards, and people look bad when they're not. We've all had that feeling. I mean, Michelle said yesterday, or a couple of days ago, she was in a tournament and she didn't get any cards for the first 4 levels, and she said she played badly. She actually didn't play badly, but she felt she played badly because she just didn't get any cards at all, right? Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that it is very difficult. It's necessary, but it's very difficult to divorce your perception of how you or indeed other people are playing from the perception of just how luck is ebbing and flowing in that game. You need to be able to do it. So I know you're screwing your face up because you're thinking, well, I can do that. But I'm saying one can't. One usually can't. Players look good. Johnny Chan looks good when he flops a straight and plays it well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would say that you can be just as... Look, someone else has flopped a straight. Gilberto.
Is he going to look good and play it well?
Well, we'll see. Little Buffy still could make the full house with a queen or a jack. And bets out, and is Gilberto going to just smooth call here, or...?
Nah, not all that money in the pot.
2 times raise, and Little Buffy will call, or indeed raise this, actually.
Yeah, probably keep it simple and stick it all in.
Look at that, I said it was unassailable. I'll tell you what it wasn't.
No.
I'm still calling it Buffy, it's bully.
Doesn't matter now.
So I think you could get freaked out and put off your game because of a perception that Devilfish is just catching the cards and playing them in an effortless way, when in actual fact he's working very, very hard to create that impression.
Not me. For sure, some, but definitely not me. If I'm outplayed, then I start to lose my ability to judge situations. But if I think he's getting good cards, say he's showing me good cards, my play is completely neutral. You know, it just means nothing really.
I think let me say this. Well, I was joking before about saying I've got devilfish on my side. The point about Dave as a player, what I got from just talking to him for an hour was his absolute mastery is making you feel and think what he wants you to feel and think. That's what a great player does, I think, at that level.
That's a good point.
It's just so much about that. You know, who was it who texted in and said, what's the difference between a competent player and a great player? Is it Neil from Harrow? Just opening it up. Yeah, Neil from Harrow. Confident player, and what's the difference between competent and great? Well, again, it's the same thing. My answer was personality, or my answer quoting Devilfish was personality. But what does that personality do? It enables you to get people to do what you want them to do. Incidentally, it's one of the reasons that I became interested in NLP as a subject, as an extension of poker, because I realised there was this thing that people were talking about. You know, you watch Darren Brown and you watch Paul McKenna and you read your first 10 pages about it, and you understand that this is something that enables you to influence people in a very subtle way.
How come Paul McKenna couldn't stop himself going bald?
I mean, always on this show, you ask the most challenging questions, the most relevant questions. It's a professional privilege.
Thank you, Caspar. Thank you very much. I don't like to blow my own trumpet.
I think the same could be said of Darren Brown.
It could.
Perhaps that's a link. Perhaps NLP makes you bald. It's certainly, I've lost it quicker in the last year than ever before. Perhaps we're onto something. Seriously, we should write a paper. You're a scientist.
The lawsuits are going to be huge.
No one owns NLP. Why? No one owns NLP as a concept.
Don't they?
No, Richard Bandler tried to sue recently, I believe, allegedly. I believe that one of the creators of NLP tried to sue and claim it as a brand trademark of his own. And I believe that the judge's ruling was that too much water had passed under that bridge since it was sort of founded 25, 30 years ago, and that no one owned it.
That's what he said, too much water under the bridge, baby.
That was exactly his legal ruling. Too much legal water has passed under the legal bridge. No.
I think he probably just needed a pee, and he wanted to close the case quickly, and his analogy proves the point.
The point is, I think you can slag off NLP without being sued.
I always get NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and PNL,
Yes.
which is Poker Night Live,
Yes.
and LNP, which is Late Night Poker,
yeah.
mixed up.
Yeah. Is there another one?
I don't know any.
PLN?
No, that's nothing.
Plane? Could be a plane.
Well, that's just desperate, Caspar.
Or a bird.
Getting better, but still a long way to go.
Meanwhile, Davies is not going to go quietly. And why should he? Do you raise here as Gilberto, Tom?
Well, you're going to have to with Ace 9, aren't you?
I think so. And he does.
Likewise, the sixes. Yeah, I have some sympathy with that. He's trying to have his cake and eat it with the 16,000 there. Possibility of taking the blinds. Ooh, whew! Big calls. And I got the wrong end of the stick there when I was interpreting his play. Big call. Very big call.
This could be the end of the tournament, couldn't it? It is of this stuff that endings are made of.
It is. Verily, it is so.
As big as the stacks are compared to the blinds. If you whack in a fifth of your opponent's blind, it will happen. Here we go. Oh!
Voila.
Look at that.
Well, it happened very quick.
It can, can't it?
I bet Davies wished he hadn't stuck it all in there, because obviously he had great equity in just avoiding a pot when they're going to be chucking chips around like that.
Do you think they'd have done that, though, if it wasn't a heads-up, Tom? Do you think they'd have played that as aggressively?
That's a very good point. Yeah, and a very good point. Generally, when you beat yourself up about doing something and getting yourself knocked out, The whole game changes when it goes heads up. Should we have a look at the email then? I don't know if we've got any.
I don't think we've got any. Sad, isn't
Shall I
it?
make one up?
Yeah. Michelle did
Cass
once.
and Tom, did she?
Yeah. It was brilliant. It was so funny. So funny. Then she told, I said we don't have any emails, and she was going, no, I've saved them. I've got in a special folder. And then she literally just leaned over to the screen and made one up. And because I started laughing on air, she absolutely killed me during the break.
Really?
For spoiling her smooth as silk presenting.
What was the email about?
I can't remember. It was so funny.
Oh no, we have got one here actually. I've just found it.
Hiding away.
It's in a special folder. It's from Fred.
Did he ask about book recommendations?
He says, "Dear Cass and Tom, what books would you recommend?"
Do you know what I'd recommend? I'd recommend Inside Edge.
The magazine?
As a magazine, and Poker Player, and Card Player.
What about Bluff?
And Bluff Europa. Bluff Europe. Poker Europa, Bluff Europe. All of those publications I'd recommend. Bluff apparently not so good on strategy, but it is good on the life of the poker player.
I think there was an article about me in Bluff recently.
Is there?
I didn't see it.
What does it
Concerning
say?
my tuition, I did read it.
Oh.
But
Not on
teaching
top of your
poker.
PR then, are you?
No, I'm not. No, that is my PA's job. But if anyone did read it, then let me know what they said about me. Okay, I don't really have an email at all. I was making it up. So we're going to go to a real cash game.
I think we knew that.
Yeah. Here they are, the unsung heroes of poker. Cash players. No one knows how much they make. No one knows how much they lose. It's a bit like the day-to-day commerce of the poker world. And
So-
Swan, yes,
You
me.
taking on a limit game for a couple of weeks? Couple of weeks?
Well, no, I was thinking about taking. I don't know. The thing with the limit is that it doesn't really interest me that much. It interests me as a concept, but I'm not really that interested in playing it. And I'd need a cast iron guarantee that it was easier to beat than no limit to really invest time. Do you think it is or not?
No.
No.
Well, no. Because I don't think you've...
Got the stamina for it, baby.
I don't think you haven't put years and years of practice into a limit tournament. So why change what is definitely not broke? I mean, you make money hand over fist playing no limit. You're one of the better players in the world. You are.
Keep talking, Caspar.
You
See if
are.
you can top those two.
All right, your record in sit and goes here on Beat the Presenter is
Thank you. The subtext was urging to come out.
take you down a couple of notches. But no, of course you are. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I'd back you.
Can we have the camera back on us, please, so we can just see the...
Dead straight. I would. I'd back you. Look, you're playing in Reno, $5,000. Do you know what? I might place a little bet. Can I go to the bookies and place a bet on you winning some money in Reno? Because I think you're going to have a rather good tournament out there.
Well, I might run a book myself if you're interested in putting that bet on.
What, you're going to hedge against yourself? It's to offset the losses. I'll take it all back.
That's arbitrage, Caspar. Also, I see a good bet when I offer one. Fine. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're prepared to back me, because I am stuck about 3 million at the moment.
If I was you, I wouldn't take up limit. It doesn't offer anything better than what you've got now. What's good about it is I think it's a great learning environment to move on to no limit. In fact, I think a lot of no limit players suffer from not grinding away on limit because whilst it's different, it's something that you have to adapt to once you want to move into no limit. You can use all the great theory that you have to be very disciplined in limit to base your decisions on. You'll make different decisions, but you will use a lot of the same information, a lot of the same processes.
And do you think a grounding in no limit is less useful for moving on to limit if you choose to go that way?
Yeah, I do. Well, I tell you what, actually, I mean, I say this because I've been sitting in a computer for the last 3 days and I've been having a little tournament banging around in the background, so literally like a $10 or $20 buy-in thing just to have some fun. and one of them was a limit stud tournament.
Oh yeah.
And now I started playing limit stud, and in fact I was a good limit stud tournament player, a really good limit stud tournament player. It brought together the things that I really enjoyed about poker. God, I was sitting there going, this is pointless. This is absolutely how could anyone play this? After about half an hour of play, you know, on internet sites it says the average stack size. The average stack size was still 1,500 because no one had been bussed out because it was a limit stud tournament. I just thought, after as someone who's been playing quite a bit of no limit in the last year and a half, that is rubbish. We all still got the same average stack. I mean, some guys on 300 and some guys on 2,000. The whole of the first the whole of the first hour of that tournament could have been swept straight into the bin. It was pointless.
Oh dear.
It was literally a race to try and get to 2,200, and that was heady.
Well, no limit stud coming to Poker Night Live in the near future. You'll be delighted to hear.
Is it?
No.
No, this was limit stud. This was limit stud.
No, I meant sorry. No limit stud coming to Poker Night Live. I parsed it wrongly.
Limit.
I'd like to see card on the head poker on Poker Night Live. I think that would be a massive, an absolutely massive progress. Because it's a very interesting game, card on the head. For those of you who aren't aware of Injun, one card brag, card on the head. Any other names? It's a form of poker where you put a card on your head, like this. Not the Rizzler game, that's something else. And you can't see a card, but everyone else can. And then you bet to see who's got the best hand.
And what do you have on the table in front of you?
Nothing. High card wins.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you're playing for who's got the best cards.
It's very pure, isn't it?
Yes, and it's like any other form of poker. It's a game of partial information. Only on this occasion, you've got the opposite of the information you would normally have. You don't know what you've got.
But it doesn't stop you doing that on an internet site, is there?
No, you could exactly do it on the internet site, which was what I'm hoping to see it, especially on this programme, because I think we'll find out a lot about poker by looking at that.
Why? What will we find out?
I don't know till I see it. The thing is that I only ever play card on the head at the end of the evening.
When you're drunk?
When I'm drunk, and I've drunk too much Mad Dog 2020, and I've gone a funny colour. So, although I'm always aware that it's a fascinating game, I can never remember why it's fascinating.
Is it possible that it's fascinating because you've had too much to drink? Because there are things that are fascinating at that stage, aren't there? Like kebabs and women that aren't that fit and card on the head poker. Is that possible?
Yeah, I guess so. You're right. Maybe I shouldn't spoil the dream with card on the head because I've got my goggles on. Well, there's only one way to know. Try it sober.
We'll give it a shot next time we have the P&L party.
Okay, well, we'll report back to you. But we're going to be... Oh, anyway.
Yeah, we're going to be drunk.
Look, Caspar, we've got no emails.
There are no emails. Shall we go back to a game?
Let's go back to the game.
This is fun, don't get me wrong. This is brilliant. I want you to know that.
Okay.
Let's have a bit of game.
All right. Yeah. Go on. Look, Sophie Varney, the well-known porn star, I hope that's not really her name, has made a flush. But she's up against a draw to a full house, which hasn't come in.
So, you play your sixes, clickety-click, you hit your trips on the flop, and the 3 to the flush comes down, you're only heads up, but the player's giving you a lot of heat. What do?
Bit tricky, that one. If only one player takes the flop with you, you really, unless you're very deep, you can't be too scared about that flush.
No, you can't.
Because they may well be betting to push you off a flush draw, and they've just got top pair or 2 pair or something. So, very difficult.
A hand we're going to lose money on.
I think so. Maybe the devilfish is right about these small pairs.
There's an analogy that we've talked about before, isn't there? About it's a different situation. I'll start again.
We've got 5 minutes, Caspar.
Yeah, equating poker with blackjack is something that we've done on various occasions.
Equating it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Drawing analogies between the two. And I would say that what happens in blackjack is that before any cards are dealt, you have an average edge against you of about 2%, right?
Yep.
Once cards are dealt, you could be a favourite. In other words, you could have a very positive expectation given certain situations in blackjack. So, for example, having a pair of tens versus a dealer having a 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? 20 versus a 6. A situation in which you'll have a very bad expectation is when you've got 16 and the dealer has 8, 9, 10 or ace showing. Okay? So, I'm just wondering whether there's a similar thing in poker there, which is that, the finish off that analogy is that the correct thing to do is to hit that 16. Because if you're in that situation 100,000 times, you'll lose money overall in that situation, but you'll lose less money by hitting the 16, which is slightly counterintuitive if you haven't worked it out mathematically, because you feel like most of the time I'm going to bust by hitting it. But the fact of the matter is it's been worked out mathematically, and you're going to lose less money. Similar sort of thing in poker, really, isn't it? If you find yourself in a situation where you've got trips and someone's made that flush, what we can say about it is that you have a negative expectation in that situation. In other words, losing money in that situation doesn't make you a bad player. The point is, what is the play that's going to minimise your losses in those situations? Would you agree?
Yeah.
And exactly the same in tournaments. You're going to play tournaments in your life where you have bad cards and you're not going to make money for a while. You're going to have tournaments where you have very good cards and you are going to make money. The point is not have you made money or lost money. The point is have you maximised your potential winnings and minimised your potential losses. Fair point?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of the overheads of poker, situations where you've got negative expectation, but it's not your fault that you've got there, and you just have to deal with that.
So that's the lesson to take from that, folks, is just don't beat yourself up. You don't, sometimes we get emails into this show, not tonight obviously, but sometimes we get emails into this show where people are beating themselves up and asking us to analyse situations where they know in their heart of hearts when they've done wrong and they know in their heart of hearts when they've done right. They do know in their heart of hearts when they've done right. They know that the cards have turned out against them, or they know they're in an impossible situation. And don't worry about that. Don't worry about it.
The most troubling part of poker is the extent to which you can't always know whether a move you made was right or wrong. I mean, the best you can do is talk to your mates about it. Of course, it's also the aspect of poker that makes you money, because everyone else faces it, and some players are happy to delude themselves that they're doing nothing wrong when they are. But it is one of the difficult aspects of the game when you just don't know whether there's a flaw in your play or not.
So, your porn star
She's
going to
not
win the
mine.
last pot of the night.
She's everyone's. That's the great thing about porn stars. They belong to the cinematic public.
For someone who's worrying that the founders of a psychological science 30 years ago were going to sue us, you're bandying around the term porn star with, some cavalier attitude.
I don't know, it's that time of the night where, Sophie Barney, if you're listening, I do apologise.
It's a joke.
But, have you considered it? How much money are you making in that cash game? I'll tell you what, Caspar, we didn't get any emails at all about our theme of the night. In fact, I've only just remembered it.
Yeah, golf poker.
So he did.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I mean, one's not brilliant, but I expect the producers filtered out a lot just because they thought we could handle it. Didn't need to complicate the show with viewer interaction.
Well, I think they're getting above their station if they're doing that. We send out a call for emails and they get filtered out. It's completely out of order. We're scratching the udders off cows next.
Smack their botties now.
Like every night. Well, it's been a pleasure, as usual, working with you, Caspar.
And you, mate. And you. We are doing Tuesday night together, I think, and Thursday night as well.
Super. Well, I'm on tomorrow night, or rather later tonight, with the Night Nurse, I believe, who I haven't seen for a while. So I'll be interested to see what her views are on sit and goes.
Be good.
And she'll be sitting down for a third one.
No, 4th or 5th.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
That's it, folks. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to tune in later tonight for more Poker Night Live.